Okay, first things first, send this to Discord. Okay, so we got that done. We are going to add to story. And then we are going to set out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, 9, 10. Okay, welcome in everyone. Let me send out a few more invites and then I'll go finish making my cup of tea real quick. And then see if she is here. So we're there. Boom. Let's see. There. Let's see. Boom, boom. Looking for one more person. Janice. There we go. Okay. We'll put the earbuds in and then go make a cup of tea real quick. How's everybody doing today? Are we all having a good Wednesday? Okay. Let me go grab my cup of tea real quick and then we will get started. Hey, Owl, how are you? It's been a hot minute, my friend. Hey. Sorry, I could hear a cat clawing at the couch. There we go. Melissa's ready? Okay, perfect. If she wants to join us here so I can invite her. And welcome in, Perp. Welcome in, everyone. Fortuna. Here we go. Invite that way. Confirm. How are you doing, Skylar? Okay, so I just sent Melissa an invite, so hopefully that'll go through. Welcome in, everyone. I hope you're all having a good one. Let's see. What have you been up to, Skylar? There we go. Invite. There we go. Okay. Can I hear you?
Let's try it.
Okay, I can hear you. Let's get video now. And while we are figuring this out, I am going to finish making my cup of tea. So usually there is a button like if you click on your face where you can choose camera. So everybody, we have Melissa McDonough joining us. She is running in Texas, our House of Representatives, Congressional District 38. Okay, I see we got awesome. Well, first of all, let me thank you for joining me. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for agreeing to come on, and thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Okay. Can you hear me? Melissa?
I appreciate the
Hi.
invitation. We
There we
always
go.
love the opportunity for us to meet people wherever they are.
Yep. And I love that. And like I said, I
don't
appreciate
want
that.
equal representation.
You're freezing really bad. Okay.
Switch it over here. We'll see if we have a better connection.
Yeah, we're working on it, Jakeem. And welcome in, everyone. Thank you for joining me. We have Melissa McDonough, and she is running in Texas for their District 38. Yeah, it's not a good freeze either, so I get that. She'll probably jump down and then come back up in just a minute. So we'll re-invite her when she's back in. But how is everybody doing today? How are you guys? And welcome in. Welcome in, everyone. I'm doing pretty good, believer. I am getting ready to have a conversation with Melissa about her candidacy and her run in Texas. Thank you for the follow, user. Yep, I can send it again, yes. Uh, I think Texas is starting to go purple. I really do. But then again, there's a lot of states that everybody has believed are red for a long time that have not been red for a long time. They've been purple. Unfortunately, we just have more red counties than we do blue. So I did resend the invitation. And welcome in, everyone. Well, welcome back. There we go. You don't understand how Ken Paxton could remove 2 million people from the ballot?
There we go. A little bit better Wi-Fi. Here we go.
There we go. There we go. Much better. Yes. So again, let's start over. Is thank you so much again for agreeing to come on, saying yes, and having this conversation with me. I appreciate it.
Oh, we really appreciate it. And again, anytime that we have the opportunity to reach people where they are, and that have us, the representative I really want to be.
You're breaking up really bad again.
Run Wi-Fi. Let's try this Wi-Fi. We'll just keep trying Wi-Fi's until we get it. It's Texas. One of the things we
Yeah,
want is
cell tower infrastructure, obviously. Better Wi-Fi,
right. Better Wi-Fi. What happened to that infrastructure money that we were supposed to get?
right? So I'm assuming infrastructure is now part of your platform, if it wasn't before.
Right? And I actually live in a rural part of Harris County. So I live
Mhm.
out with the farms and we were still on dial up, literally like the we hear it
Yep.
until December last year. So
Really?
yes, we would love some infrastructure.
Okay. Do you get the really? Because really?
Yes, yeah. It's fun when
Okay.
people
I'm gonna admit, given the fact that it's 2026 and we have fiber optics and we have all these great ways to get internet to people, the fact that people are still on dial up.
our school children, when we went through COVID and had to send our school kids home, in my area could not get online. Even if they had computers, they had no way of being able to do that. So we have a T3 trunk line that we had put out to our church, which is again rural area. And we had kiddos coming to church and just sitting in the various areas of the worship center so they could get online and actually do schooling still. So, yes, not everyone has the level of communication and the ability to get information as you would think.
Yeah.
So, there,
And it's again, I'm in my 40s. I remember I remember dial up. I remember dial up being all we have, okay? Again, but it still blows my mind where we live in this world where they're so invested on building all these, data centers, these, campuses to just all these things where they're not even taking care of the basic necessities of what people need in order to survive. And in this day and age, like it or not, we need internet to survive.
well, even to get emergency services, and that's what I am really working on in our area is making sure that, I mean, again, in a rural farm area, accidents happen, and we need fire response quickly for animals. When barns catch fire, I need everybody to come out. So we end up just doing the run where we all start running, and it feels like, the old movies you used to watch with the pails where you all get in a line and you start with pails of water. That's what it feels like
Mm-hmm.
because constantly we're out there trying to direct firefighters on how to get there, get through fencing, the police how to get back there and help us get livestock moved and get them out into the road because that's where they need to go. They need to go to the road and just follow the road. So
Right.
it's yes, there is still a whole area of even if we had the money, we don't have the infrastructure. And then there's places where we have the infrastructure, but people don't have the money to join it. So we really have to work on those differences and really narrowing that back in where everybody has the opportunity. And that plays into not only EMS, but that plays into economic opportunities, the educational opportunities. When we can't reach information to better ourselves, when we can't reach political information to do research and understand before we go to voting, where we can't get information on where even voting is. These are all informational structures and barriers that we really have got to work on overcoming.
You know, I will say I lived in Texas for about 6 months of a time, and I was staying with friends who had kids. And one thing that I realized about Texas is they, especially in the rural areas, need to invest more in schooling. They really do. They need to invest more in their kids. They need to invest more in having teachers that can adequately teach the children. Um, I was a little mind boggled where I was meeting 9, 10, 11 year olds who could barely read and didn't could barely do addition and subtraction, let alone multiplication and division. And it's like, but I remember, and even my kids, but by the time we were that age, we could do basic this and this and this, and adding and subtracting and reading, and comprehending was easy. And it's just like, how far historically have we gone in 20 years that schooling in states where, even in rural, because I grew up in rural, we had a really good schooling system in Washington still, even though our schools were all in the middle of freaking cornfields. I'm not joking. You know, we still had a good schooling, and to the point where I came to Indiana and they told me, oh, well, because you were at a rural school, your credits don't count, even though I took the classes here. And I'm like, well, I just got 127% in that class, but sure, mine doesn't count.
Correct. And also keep in mind, not only is it the education in the rural area, but that is the community center. That's where the community comes for Friday night lights, regardless of how bad the football team is. And football is big in Texas. We all come together for football. And that is where our communities really get together and immerse in each other and get to, that's where language barriers drop off, all the other things drop off that we like to use for division. We will rally against our football team on Friday night, and we will all come out for that. So when we don't have that infrastructure, when we don't have those opportunities, like right now with the voucher program that is going on in Texas, the rural and urban areas in the district, even in 38, do suffer, and they suffer big. I used to be a volunteer when my kiddos were in school. I was a library volunteer. I've been in real estate for 30 years, and real estate doesn't wake up until about 9 o'clock in the morning, where our kiddos had to be at school between 6 and 7 a.m. So during that time, I would go ahead and drop them off and then go into the library and work with literacy. So I have read every book in the library. I personally have read it. So it was easy to engage with students and ask them, well, what's your hobby outside of school? I mean, do you play baseball? Do you do gaming? Do you do horses? Oh, have you read the Princess Horse book? And they're like, I'm sorry, there's what? Oh, you have to read this book. And then it's, here, start this. Her name is this, and come back next week and tell me what your favorite part was. And then I would see them in the hall later, in between things, and I would ask, so did you get with the part where she fell off the horse? I'm like, she falls off the horse? No! And it was amazing to be able to engage with our kiddos, because literacy is the foundation of all education. Every bit of it. You can learn anything. You can be anybody if you have literacy. So I really work hard in making sure that our libraries, especially our public libraries in our schools and in our community, are not only properly funded, but they are properly staffed to make sure that everyone can engage in that.
Good. I love that. I big proponent of public libraries. I grew up like literally being in one every weekend. My mom would take me up. I checked out a lot of anatomy books. I can remember at 12 years old, the librarian asking my mom, are you sure it's okay that she has this? My mom was like, yeah, why? They're like, but there's pictures of genitals in it. And my mom's like, and if she has any questions, she'll ask.
I'm right here. I'm right here.
And then she goes, and she point blank looked at the librarian and goes, it's not like she had never changed her little brother's diaper either.
Well, in rural area, hello, we see animals. We understand this. To us, that's not woke education. That is life education. And being able to understand it, wow, maybe some of our policies and legislation would be much better if, I don't know, we started with people and understanding and knowledge and then supported that. I know it's a novel idea, but I'm working on it.
Right? Well, I was having a good conversation with somebody, and we were talking about the difference between matriarchy and patriarchy. And a lot of people freeze at the word matriarchy because, well, especially men, don't know what it means. They assume that it's just patriarchy, but with women on top instead of men on top. And that couldn't be any further from the truth. Matriarchy is the focus of our future. We focus on the children. We focus on our next generation. We don't focus on the adults as much as we do focus on supporting the kids and what they need because they are the next generation of adults. And if we want our world to get better, wouldn't it be smart to teach the next generation how to properly, I don't know, handle their emotions, how to exist in social settings, how to comprehend and read a book, how to honestly clean a toilet and cook a meal?
Life skills? Yes, life skills. My children were really big in, my older son was really big in anything that moved and mechanical. And that was from when he was, I mean, an infant learning to crawl. We literally put pieces of computer boards to use as puzzles for him, and he would work on sockets. And then my younger son was very much into aviation and boats and just the ability to move things with advocacy and funding. And I want to make this point when we talk about school funding. There's a lot of question about how individual education plans, EPIs, IEP, there we go. I can get that
IUPs,
in.
yeah.
How they're funded. And those are funded from a federal level. So not
Mhm.
only children who are underachieving or struggling in a certain area receive that, but so do advanced students receive that same individual plan and that funding. My children are public education children who went to
Mhm.
college at age 16 and 14. They are I have an aerospace engineer and pilot who works for the Department of Defense by being a contractor with the Pentagon. He knows everything that's avionics in our military, all the way to my older son who graduated from college at 20 and works cybersecurity. He literally writes the curriculum and is enlisted in our military to teach cybersecurity across all of our branches. So if it wasn't for those individual plans and that individual funding that comes from the federal level, not only do we have children that we're trying to bring up, but we have children we're pressing down on. So education is a necessity at all levels. The 65-year-old person who wants to learn something new, a new language, all the way to infant care and postnatal care and how we read in vitro. All of that is an education plan. It's in life. It's from cradle to grave. And we need to fund it and we need to support it.
I love that. So my family, my generation, everybody down to my little brother, but our mid 30s, we went back to school for a different career because whatever we had decided on when we were younger just wasn't it for us. Now we have a nuclear physicist, we have a nurse, we have multiple people in IT, we have one person who's a web designer. I'm a licensed massage therapist. My brother's currently back in school for IT. So I mean, what we were doing originally, just it didn't end up being what we were actually meant to be doing. So yes, being able to go back to school in your mid 30s is important because there's a lot of people, I'm not sorry when I say this, we are forced to choose what we want to do when our frontal lobe's not even fully developed, okay? We are told at 18, pick.
How many firefighters do we have in kindergarten? Because the big red fire truck is there. I had kiddos that were like, I want to be a trash truck driver. Okay, you're going to be a truck driver of the trash truck. Yes, it is very cool. Well, it is very cool, yes. But okay, but is that what you want to do when you turn, 20 and you're sitting there in your college and they're going, "What is your degree plan? Because we've got to get you out of here. There's no more funding for you." So, yes, and be able to use those experience and bridge them into a different education as we evolve. So, not only do we evolve in education, but we evolve as people and we need more experts in certain areas. That's
Mhm.
organic. Just like
Yep.
governing is organic, people are organic. This is why. So embrace it.
Well, yeah, so my kids both on IEPs. It was a lot easier to get my son on his IEP than it was my daughter. My son was on his IEP by second grade. My daughter, we had to fight to get her on it by fourth grade, like hardcore fighting. I am now in the process, and it's next Monday. She has her first of 3 interviews to be diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia, but we're still not even getting help for her with those until we get the official diagnosis, despite the fact that I've been trying to do that for 2 years now.
And that is criminal. And when I say it's criminal, when you steal education from a child, it is a crime and it should be prosecuted as such. It is criminal. It's negligence. It's child negligence.
I mean, you can go and ask my husband. He's in here, Demon Tech. I am so angry. I had to let him take over her IEP, her case, all of that, because if I get involved, I will be tearing new assholes for everybody, because I am so livid that she's going into middle school and she's still not getting the help she needs.
Exactly.
Sorry.
And
Like, I'm angry.
Well, and I'm angry for you as a parent. I know what that's like as a mom when we know our child needs something and we are advocating and we're unable to deliver that to our child. I mean, it's like we're missing it as a mom, and we have to be careful with that as mothers. But also, I think about all the kiddos that don't have the strong advocacy, that lean and need the government to be able to support that. And the teachers are the first to help identify that. And we don't pay them well. We don't listen to them well. And we don't put the federal funding that we need. The education department at the federal level is closing. Okay.
Oh yeah, they moved it to the Department of Labor. It's very telling.
So those doors are chained, and we are now even some of our advanced degree programs. There's over 20 degree programs that we've said those aren't professional degree programs anymore. The predominant gender that uses those degree programs are women. But my biggest concern is when you look at that list, those are the degrees, those are the people with those degrees that are first to recognize a child in distress, not undereducated.
Mandatory reporters.
And if we don't have those, and we have set a presidency by a president of being able to have abusive child, that's okay. What are we doing? Who are we as not only a country, but as people that we can stand by and say, that's okay. It is not okay. And we need to bring those degree programs back. We need to put a spine back in Congress and reestablish the balance of our 3 branches of government. And it needs to be done yesterday. We should not be waiting for me to get in office, for the next person to get in office. It is a now thing. And every single day I see going by, the worse it is getting and the more time it's going to take to unravel that. So I really hope that we can have this conversation a year from now, and we can go through the list of what we've started on to make sure that we are putting that power back into the people, because that's where it belongs. When I review bills, because I've been working on the Hill as a volunteer for 20 years, I have gone on my own time and dime to Washington, D.C. and championed more than 50 bills that I've hand carried through the House. So this is an opportunity for me to have basically the power of vote to go along with those that effort that I've been making for so long. But to be able to put those policies into action for specific people, especially in my district, that is where we need to be. We always say the higher tide will rise all boats. We can do this, and we can raise all the boats by just simply flipping Congress, flipping the state. We have a plan. We're already talking. But this time next year, I want to celebrate being able to put checks and balances and hold criminals, Donald Trump, accountable for what they're doing. Yes.
No, I love that. So real quick, we're going to address Joe, because he goes, ask Melissa if she's Green, Peace, and Freedom, or Democratic Party. And he goes, the reason why he's asking is he just voted, and his beef is with the corporate Democrats that do nothing.
Oh, I'm with not even the corporate Democrats that do nothing, but those in power that do nothing, those on the Hill that do nothing. I have literally said to a congresswoman, not just a few months ago, that if you don't have a spine and you can't say his name, it's Donald Trump. It's time to resign. Let someone else hold that seat that is not scared of Voldemort. Let's do this. So as far as color, I am purple. And I am purple because democracy is not a red or a blue problem. It is a purple solution, and it takes all of us to get there.
Yeah, there is a purple party though. Otherwise, I would be purple too. I've been claiming purple, and then somebody goes, "Oh, there's a purple party," and I looked at them. I'm like, "But I don't align with their views. Can't I just be my own purple?"
You can be purple with us. How's that?
Love it. Because that's just it. Is here's the thing: is I've talked to people across the board. I've talked to independents. I've talked to libertarians. I've talked to Green members. I've talked to Democrats who identify as progressive, socialist, reform. I love it all. I love the fact that people are just so damn tired of the status quo and don't really care what subsection of whatever the hell they fall into. They're just running, and they're running for the right reasons.
Being honest, our political environment is not left to right. It is top to bottom. And when we start looking at it top to bottom, we will write different policies that have different guardrails in them. I mean, like I worked on the CFPB, the establishment of that. And to watch that be dismantled after giving back $40 billion back to Americans because of fraud, and have that dismantled where we no longer have that mechanism, we no longer have that ability, it made me go look at it a different way and go, okay, when I put it back together, because it is going to be put back together, thank goodness to Senator Warren had already filed lawsuit on that and won just last month. So it's coming back together. We will be putting guardrails in there where it cannot be dismantled again. And we're going to have to do this with every single thing as we move forward. We're not going to be able to go back and try to put things in place. We're going to have to move forward and put those guardrails back in, or implement them for the first time and hold accountability and hold strong. This is not going to be a time where we go, well, maybe if we take the high road. So sorry. No.
We've been taking the high road. Now it's time to get dirty.
It's one road and we all need to be on it.
That's just it. Is we've taken the high road. Now it's time to get dirty. We are in the same lane you are. Don't like it? Then get out of our way.
Exactly. Go sit on the sideline and be mad. I'm okay with that.
She's running in Texas, actually. She's running for their Texas House of Representatives, District 38.
So I am flipping a red to blue.
Yep, that's what we're going for. And I was looking, and so your primary is the 26th, but you have no challengers. So you're running for the Democratic Party uncontested, which is fantastic.
No, already won. Our primary was March 3rd.
Oh, it's March 3rd. See, that's the thing is I was looking on the website for Ballotpedia and it had it listed as the 26th.
That is our runoffs, and I have no runoff.
Oh, okay. Well, even better, no challengers.
I actually had two other challengers in the primary and beat them with over 50%. I also ran in 2024. And so we continued a grassroots effort. We are very much hundreds. That is what
I'm hoping for everybody is if they don't make it that first time, that over the next 2 years, we can get their name out enough doing grassroots that people recognize them. Because I know from talking to a lot of people, there's two primary things they run into when it comes to campaigning: money, name recognition.
Yes. And I have name recognition and branding. We are the purple brand. When we bring the purple peeps, everybody knows we're there. It's even been more fun that we walked into a room, and if you're wearing purple, they're like, oh, your group is up there on the right-hand side. And they're like, what group? Well, you're in purple. And they're like, oh, okay. And they end up sitting with us just because you're in purple. So we built that brand. Now, where we do lack is money. And we have amazing grassroots that we started. And again, like in 2023, 2024, we use those same people to flip school districts. One of the largest school districts in the state of Texas is Cy-Fair ISD. Using that training, that same method, we were able to flip all the seats available in that school district. We also have Houston ISD, which has been in the news way too much for the wrong reasons. But we flipped 5 of the 6 trustee positions using our same method, our same grassroots efforts. So this is not a one-time campaign. This is something that we are building that will continue over and over and over. And we have multiplied that throughout the state by having other congressional candidates join in and say, you know what, send your volunteers over. We do training every other weekend. We will show them what to do and send them right back to go keep cutting cookies. I go, let's mold a cookie cutter and let's get cutting. So that's what we've been doing. Yes. So we do need funding.
Yes. But Joe's going, people need to vote third party regardless if they think they'll win or not. Here's the thing. That's not necessarily the best practice. Best practice. And my husband, we had primaries yesterday. He even admitted that he didn't do his research beforehand, despite the fact he's been listening for me 2 months, going on and on and on about it. So he admitted it. He's like, I didn't do my research. And I'm just like, I'm looking at him. He's like, well, I'm sorry. He goes, I started looking into things while I was in the line, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing is the best bet is to actually go through all of the candidates, find one you genuinely believe in and vote for them, regardless of whether or not you think they will win. Because those are the people, is if we have enough people who genuinely believe in them and go and vote for them, they will win. They will win. They will win.
So I have Republicans that literally wear purple shirts and work on our teams. And that's because they can no longer be part of a party that doesn't have the same belief system. So we really work on that 80% in the middle and drive them. And we drive that hard, that we're working on that 80% and everybody is welcome. Everybody. Even if you're a MAGA, by all means, come have a conversation with me. You can be a recovering MAGA. I'm okay with that. You can complain the whole time. I'm good with compliant complainers. Let's do this. And so, again, we welcome them. That they will wear a purple shirt because it's not red or blue. It's about getting things done for people. It's about the issues. It's about doing better for the next generation, like we've said. But right now, we're in a position where we're not working on the next generation. We are literally putting the following generation in so much debt. It doesn't matter how much education that I can provide for you. We have got to dig out of that immediately. Right now, we're spending over $1 billion a day for a war that was not constitutional by Congress. We are handing that not to our children. We are handing that debt to our grandchildren.
That great grandchildren.
Correct. That, again, I say is criminal. When I can put you in debt and you haven't even been thought about, I should be held accountable for that. Should others? Yes.
Yeah. No, if they're doing criminal enterprise, like it or not, people need to start being held accountable for their actions, regardless of the severity. Whether it is something as simple as, screwing over your employees' 401ks and not giving them, profit sharing anymore because companies have been doing that, to making sure you're paying them such a bare minimum that they have to apply for state benefits. Like, I'm not sorry when I say if you are making record profits each year since 2020, you should be paying your employees more, period, Walton.
There used to be, and some of your viewers will remember and be able to possibly have these papers still. Companies used to put in the newspaper, take out whole page ads in the Wall Street Journal even, and say, look how much money we paid in taxes because we made that much profit and we want to give back to the people. That used to be accolades. Now it's how much can you grift and get away with? No. It would be really fun if we started putting out how much our billionaires are paying in taxes and take out those full page ads.
Oh yeah, or how about how much they made in accrued interest and didn't pay tax on?
Yes. So we have in Congressional District 38 a really large group of what I call the working poor. They are working. but they still are under the, both mom and dad are working, but they're still under the poverty line. And so they need the government assistance of SNAP and of some of our financial aids that we do in Section 8 or in VAT and so forth. And as those programs have been defunded by the federal government, now you've got the working poor that work 40 hours a week. You can't work anymore. But working for a corporation that is showing profits that they've never seen the likes of. So when we went to that group and said, hey, how do we help? What do we do? How do you see this? The policies changing to work for you. So it's not just what needs to happen, but how it happens. One of the things they brought to my attention was word choicing. I have always said that we really need to work on economic opportunity for everyone. And they're like, Melissa, I don't own stocks. That doesn't have anything to do with me. Wait a minute. What about paying the rent, putting groceries on the table, and putting gas in your car so you can get to work? And they're like, absolutely, that is me. So we've got to work on some of our messaging as far as our word choices to make sure that we're not always talking about people who have 401ks and what's happening to them, but what is happening to people whose pensions are totally gone? What about people who work 40 hours a week and still only make $20,000 a year? That is ridiculous. So we have started listening tours that start this month where we invite everybody. If you live in this community, I want you there. I want you to come, let me get a pad of paper out, sit down with a pen, and you talk to me. We bring experts in different areas as far as immigration, which is huge here in Texas. Our immigration courts are we have more immigration courts here in Harris County than anywhere. Our healthcare, we have healthcare. You no longer have benefits and abilities to have that health care. And in our rural area, they're shutting down where even if you do have those benefits, you don't get access. Texas is a huge state. When you look at the east side of Texas from Texarkana, which is right at the very top, all the way to the Gulf of America, and yes, it's the Gulf of Gulf of Mexico. So when you look at that whole area, there's not a birthing center anywhere in there. So even if you have health care, you don't have access to health care. We've got to work on that. And that's why we are doing our listening tours to make sure that we're not only missing something, but that we're using the word choices that will actually, come to your kitchen table. We want to be part of that kitchen table discussion.
So she is running in District 38 in Texas for the Texas House of Representatives. So here's the thing, Joe, when it comes to gas prices, it does differ by state, but you have to understand it's not the states that set it. It's not Congress that sets it. It's the oil companies that set it. It's the gas companies. So in order to actually change what we're paying at the pump, we actually need to regulate how much gas companies can charge us. I get it, $5 a gallon here. I was driving by, it had dropped down to $4.49 at one of the gas stations. Oh, I filled up because it was 50 cents cheaper a gallon. The fact that I live in Indiana and it's $5 a gallon. I drove to New Mexico. That was the first time I'd seen over $5 a gallon in my lifetime. It's mind-boggling knowing that, okay, well, Texas, New Mexico, California, New York, they're paying $7, $8, $9 a gallon over the next few months. Why? Because here's the thing. We are now out of the cheap gas. We are now paying for the gas that has been brought into our country since Hormuz has been closed, which means we are now paying a premium on that gas. We want to change that. Strait of Hormuz needs to reopen. This Iran war needs to stop, and oil companies need to be regulated.
So I want to make sure that we have a timeline because I'm all about making sure that we're communicating so that people have the power to prepare and to respond according to their household. So when we talk about oil prices, we're talking about the global price. And right now we're at $1.15 a barrel. When we hit $115 a barrel, when we hit 120 a barrel, that won't send us into a recession. That will put us into a depression. We are that close to a global market crash that we've got to be very careful of. When we talk about opening the Strait of Hormuz, I also want to give a timeline. It's going to take a minimum 6 months to clear those mines to be able to allow those boats to flow through. This is driving up everything, not just oil prices. I want you to to know that is petroleum is used to create plastic. So when we talk about medications, the cap that goes on medications, our syringes, all of those are being prohibited from being manufactured now because we don't have that fuel. The UK, look to the UK because they're the first ones in pharmacy that I look at for how we're doing with supply, and we are way down on supply. The US, look at where we are with heparin. Heparin is the number one drug that we use in our ERs. That's used for surgeries, blood clots. If you're having a possible heart attack, the first thing they're grabbing is heparin. We have about 7 to 9 days supply that we have available for heparin. And this has to do with our trade war with China, because that's how it's made, is out of China. And then being able to bottle it and cap it in new syringes, which is part of our oil issue with being able to make plastics. So we are very, very interdependent. As much as people would like to think that that's a them problem, no, if it's a them problem, it's about to be an us problem. We have a lot more in common, than what divides us. And the sooner that we are able to help people across the pond and around the world, the better we will be also, because we are that interdependent. The U.S. is a soft sale country. Most of our what we make is what we call soft sales. So it's in technology, it's in knowledge, it's in what we provide, not a product that we provide, but more of the service level that we provide. So we are dependent on product providing from other countries. We should really, I don't know, make sure that the trade war stops and Congress really takes a spine to that and gets that back flowing. We had that issue coming out of COVID. Did we learn nothing? Apparently, we're learned nothing. We can do better. We can.
Oh, we absolutely can. And to that, I know, Jace, you're saying the governor here closed refineries, which you disagree with. I understand that. But again, they may not have had any option but to close them for various different reasons. There's a lot of things that can go on in the background. And yes, please, if you have done the research, by all means, send me the links to that. I will be more than happy to look into it because I would love to know why they were closed the refineries. Let's see. California has a different, more expensive blend for pollution. That's why the price is so high. And that's true. That's true. They do have a different blend because they are trying to combat the constant pollution they have in their state, which is now becoming more rampant in other states, like Indiana. Yay! EPA rollbacks. Okay. Hey, Rock. So why don't we talk a little bit more about the cost of living? I know you had talked about the economic opportunity for all. I know we have the housing issues and inflation. And a lot of that is, yes, it's driven by gas prices because, like it or not, when gas prices go up, so do the prices of groceries because the prices of transporting them goes up. When gas prices go up, the price of plastics go up, the price of this goes up, the price of packaging goes up, the price of everything goes up. And it might only be, it's only 5 cents. But when you start adding 5 cents onto 20 items, guess what? That's a buck. Next thing you know, you're paying $10 more at the cash register, but you got the same amount of food you got last week. What's the difference? That's the difference.
My concern is that soon you will not have the food, even if you have the means. When we don't have gas moving, we can't do diesel in our farm trucks. When we don't have those boats moving, we are rationing fertilizer right now. Texas is the first to plant because we're south. So we're getting ready to harvest. Well, the budget that was made to be able to harvest no longer meets the criteria. We're off. So now we don't have seed that we can purchase for the next crop. We don't have the fertilizer. We don't even have it accessible. Even if you could pay for it, we're rationing that. So we don't have that next crop going in. When we stop cropping, you stop eating. And that's where my biggest concern is. I'm watching us because I get to see it live. And not everybody gets to go out and drive, the next 5 miles from their home and go, oh, hey, look, corn's going in. Oh, hey, look, we're doing soybeans. That's harvesting now. They're not seeing that it's dying on the vine. When I see food not being harvested through not having immigration and the ability to have people out there working, not having fuel to be able to get the tractors out there. And then we have a president who did negotiations with other countries so we don't sell our harvest. Um, we have an economic problem beyond that goes way beyond. But what it does is it affects your stomach. And we already have food insecurity, and we are adding a lot more to that. So, hey, rich people, if you think you get to go to the grocery store and buy whatever you want, think again, because that food is not going to be there come fall if we don't do something now.
And this is what I've been spouting since last year when they started grabbing the migrant workers that were here legally. Because, well, first of all, there's a lot of crops that cannot be harvested by machine. They have to be harvested by hand. Tomatoes are one of them. If you try to use machines, they will go all smushed and you won't have tomatoes. You will have ketchup.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have salsa. That's all you'll have. Peppers, that's another one. So there's a lot of vegetables, especially the of the nightshade variety, that if you squeeze them too hard with the machines, they're going to go split. They have to be harvested by hand. Grapes, that's another one that has to be harvested by hand. You cannot just have a machine going down the row and cut all the grapes off because it's going to destroy the vast majority of them in the process. So there's a lot of fruits and vegetables that have to be harvested by hand, but they're just grabbing up the migrant workers. So last year in Florida, they saw the vast majority of 3/4 of the tomato crops rotted on the vine. They were not picked in time.
Correct.
We have that issue with corn in Indiana where right next to my kids' middle school, there's a cornfield where I watch the corn go black every year and rot on the vine. Then they harvest it and turn it into animal feed.
And it's not good quality animal feed because that's a different planting. That's a different seed. That's for silage. And there's a silage seed and fertilizer. This, again, we're going back to some science. Don't everybody freak out. But there is a science to farming. And that starts with soil. And it starts with how much water can go in that soil, how much it holds, determines what we plant and the quality of what we plant. So again, you're going to be hungry even if you can make rent and pay the bills and you have money. When we don't have food in the grocery store, those big boxes you like to go to, I like to go there. There's not going to be anything there. We're going to see limited supplies coming in. You're also going to see limited supplies on cleaning supplies and so forth because it takes plastics to even do those. So you're going to see row by row, it's going to start being pulled back on the diversity of what you're offered. Mm-hmm. And some areas have a very little grocery store. I've been in them and I'm like, ooh, this is like the corner store. And how many people come here? Hundreds of people come here. And I'm going, wow, this is tiny. And they have like one type of milk, one type of corn. You're getting canned corn, not fresh corn. One type of, like we mentioned, ketchup. There's one brand. That's it. You're not going to have that variety. So we need stuff now. There was a bill that was just passed last week. The House Democrats did put together. It did pass through. I'm waiting for it to be signed off on. That will give some relief to farmers. I worked really hard last fall on a screwworm bill because that is killing our crops. And now that has moved into mammals and has moved into the first human, I believe it was in North Carolina, August of last year even. If we don't take care of this fly larva, it will continue to kill what we do have. And that has to be done on a federal level because the method and timing all has to be at the same time. So now there's been a bill passed to be able to get a group together to make sure that we're doing this properly and what the rollout should be. But it's a mess.
It is.
A lot to do.
It is. And understand every state has some farming community. Every state does, but I know a lot of these small farms, the family farms, they're disappearing. They've been disappearing in droves for the past few years. And that's the worst thing that can happen to us is when we don't have those small family farms to even supply the local communities with food. Right. Like your Saturday, farmer's market. Mm-hmm. I love going to the farmer's market, but there's less people with less variety there each year because there's less small farms in our area because of the fact that The land's being bought up by foreign investors. That's the first of all. People are, well, they're just not buying from local anymore. They're buying from Kroger, and Kroger is just importing it in from out of state. So that's part of the reason why you're paying more. But people are like, oh, well, I'll pay just the same at a farmer's market. It's going to be, $12 for 15 ears of corn, either way it goes. Well, yeah, but I can also promise you the farmer's market one is going to be significantly healthier because of the fact they can sit there and tell you exactly what they've done to their crops throughout the course of the year before they brought them to your table.
Back to that science. They know their soil before planting. And yes, that is a necessity, especially in, again, our rural areas do not have big grocery stores. They depend on farmers markets. So that is creating where, think of it today, especially in our urban areas, where would you go to get milk if you couldn't go to the grocery store? I promise you, people cannot answer that question. They're like, I have no idea. I don't know where the dairy farm, I guess, is. So you don't even know where to go get it if you couldn't go to your local grocery store.
Right.
We've got to work on that. We've got to work on PFAs. I have a bill that I championed again in October that was championed for our organic farms through the Farm and Ranch Alliance of America. So we're championing that bill through. That's going to take a little bit more time to come through, but it's specific to our local farmers. And we need to watch that bill and support that bill.
No, we do. And going on all of that, let's talk about some of the EPA, the environmental impacts, how that affects the animals that then end up on your table. Because I personally, and I've told my husband, I would like us to start actually going to the butchers when it comes to getting ground beef, because we can actually get the hunk of beef and watch them ground it in front of us. And then there's no ground beef particulates in there, AKA pink slime, which it's now, since it's X amount, actual ground, beef particulates, they can have X amount of pink slime in the actual ground beef. And yeah, I get sick from that stuff. There's something in the particulates that they add that my body can't handle it.
So a little trivia for you. Texas has more cattle than there are people in Louisiana. So to say that we're the cattle state, we like to claim that, yes, we are the cattle state. There are 2 places to process cattle in Texas. 2. So if you are a local cattle raiser, where do you go to process? You have 2. Commercial will always be first. So where has that left them? We need to be able to put regulations in place allowing them to do local butchering. But that's going to take, we already have those there, like with restaurants. You already have inspectors for restaurants. We already have inspectors for local, but they are only allowed to use that for their own family. They're not allowed to sell it to you locally. They have to use only one of 2 in the full state. And you have to bring your cattle there. And then to pick up your meat, you have to pick it up within 24 hours. Well, when is your cattle being processed? You're in line against the commercial. So I'd like to get rid of your pink sludge, but I'm going to have to do some work.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. It's just, but that's something where if you're not aware of that, please go research ground beef and ground beef particulates. You're going to look at beef differently. That's all I'm going to say, is you're just going to look at your ground beef very differently.
We're going to look at chicken differently. Most people didn't realize that beef is processed by Tyson here in Texas. They go, well, wait a minute, Tyson's chicken. No, Tyson is processing. And where was the immigration raid? Tyson.
Yep. And she goes, processing plants have been run by immigrants. Now here we are. Yep.
Well, yep, thank you.
I know. God, it's one of the other states up north where Tyson, they have a plant there and it's huge. I want to say it's either Wisconsin or Minnesota, where they have a few huge processing plants for, beef and chicken. And that's all they do is they process it.
Yep, that's all they do.
Boar's Head ham, now that has listeria outbreak in Virginia.
Sorry, Virginia.
Yeah. But no, so let's see. Scrolling, make sure we get caught up in everything. But yes, support local. So guys, one thing you can do to help support your economy is, instead of going to the store and buying big name brands, go to your local mom and pops. Go to your local mom and pops. Go to the small corner store and get your stuff there. It will help them. You will probably be getting the same big name brands because that's usually what they carry, but you're going to be helping infuse more money into that mom and pop shop and less into the Targets and the Wahlbergs and the other big corporate name stores where they keep making so much money each year, and it's disgusting. It's sickening because they are profiting off of us being poor. They are keeping us more poor.
I am a small business owner. So one of the things that I really, really concentrate on, especially with our campaign, is that we use local as much as possible. Like, for example, our meet and greets that we do several a week. Again, I want to be out in the community meeting you there where you meet, not having you come always, not you coming to me. So we specifically look for a local owned, family owned, like restaurants or venues that are family owned to make sure that we're supporting them. So not only do we show up there and but we advertise a broad spectrum. So even if people can't come out, we're making sure that we're using our donor money to put back into a community, because economically stronger communities, more educated communities will have the underneath the foundation needed to bring it back up. But we really concentrate at that local community level on everything we do.
No, and that's good. And to kind of tie it back to governance, where when we talk about which levels of government are actually the most important, guys, the most important level of governance, believe it or not, is local.
It's not me.
It is your local. It's your school boards. It is your city council. It is your mayor. It is the local stuff that happens that is day to day and dictates your day to day life. Then you have state level. That's state Congress and state Senate. Then we have federal level, federal Congress, federal Senate. The least important job out of every last one of them, believe it or not, is President of the United States. That is the least important job out of all those different tiers, with our day-to-day life being the most important.
Correct. Absolutely. I do a living demonstration when I go into colleges or when I do sorority presentations, is I bring a candidate from every position on the ballot to show that the closer to your door, the closer to your table is all the way down there. I'm all the way up here. But if there's a break in that chain, I can get you all kinds of money and funding and a grant, and this is what we're going to do with it, and I'm going to hold peeps accountable for it, and we're going to make this happen. But if it breaks anywhere in that chain, it doesn't reach your table. So that's why when I talk about candidates, make sure you're choosing the candidates that we all work together. If anybody is about themselves and not about people, it's a break in the chain. So all the tax money we send and all the time we spend pushing bills and legislation and putting things together, it never reaches your table. One of the things we work on here in Houston is flooding. FEMA is a big part of our life, and it is made up of 30 different agencies. It has been dismantled and defunded. So now we know that the next hurricane we have, who's going to be there? Because that federal money doesn't get to move down the chain. It is super important that we all work together for people, not for our individual egos, and those need to step aside. We need to have the eye on the ball. Sorry.
No, you're fine. No, you are absolutely right. And actually, that was going to be one of the things that we were going to talk about, was because somebody brought up earlier the flooding in southern Texas that unalived a lot of children that could have been avoided.
Yes, and actually Biden offered money for that system, and they refused it.
I know.
Again, this is by working together for people. I mean, I don't care. I promise you, when I go up to the Hill and I was working for veterans, trying to get what's called VASH money for homeless veterans, I don't care what color you were. I didn't care if you were blue or pink or purple or red. I don't care. I was there to rob your office of any money you had left over to bring back to Harris County, because we had zero money. So no, I don't. Again, we're top to bottom. And so when we talk about infrastructures, we're talking about top to bottom. So when you talk about Camp Mystic in the flooding situation, federal is responsible for infrastructure. So when people say, well, I send my tax money up there and I never see any of it. Well, it's in your roads. It's in your highways. It's in your technology. It's in communication. It's in anything that crosses a state line is to be handled by the federal government. So those are your large infrastructure projects. So when we talk about flooding, we need to get water moving. So those are going to be our very expensive projects where we're boring under cities that we're looking at doing. You will see bonds passed by local government. So that's going to be your county level. They will pass bonds to be able to add to that funding to do anything that's like street level or specifically in the subdivisions to connect to those large infrastructures. So that's how that all fits together. So when we're talking about when you're going through your levels of government and you're choosing your candidates, you're looking for people who can work across, they say across the aisle. I'm like, get rid of the aisle. Everybody sit alphabetical, just like you did in kindergarten, and get along.
Let's just all sit in a circle and sing Kumbaya. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sit in a circle and get it done. We're not going to let you leave until it's done. No more recesses until your work is done.
If things were like that, you want to go on vacation, fine. You don't get paid while you're on vacation. You don't want to do your job, you don't get paid. Cool. Go on vacation. Don't expect to see a cent until your ass is back here at the table making sure shit gets done.
I have always said that Congress needs to be on TRICARE. TRICARE is what we use for our military health care. And TRICARE will be so much better if we all had to be on it at the same time and deal with what happens there.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, if they had to deal with the same things we had to deal with, oh, believe me, that shit would change.
Exactly. I agree. So, again, we have a lot of work to do, but we've got to focus first on putting the checks and balances back into Congress, getting 3 equal branches, which means, yes, the Department of Justice has got to work for, I don't know, itself and not Trump. Congress has got to work for people. And there's 2 sections of Congress, remember. One is for people, one is for the states. And if they're not doing their jobs, they need to be removed. And you hold the power to fire. So let's get some people in there and get to work.
So this is one of the things I like talking about. I'm glad you brought that up. So I like to tell people, if you haven't already, please go read the writings and letters of our forefathers, because they literally detail out for us what they wanted for our country. And then they detailed out for us what to do if we end up in an authoritarian dictatorship regime like we have right now. In that case, federal government's supposed to take back power. If federal government won't take back power, like we're seeing right now, state government's supposed to take back power. If the state won't take back power, guess what? We're supposed to kick their asses out of office and put people in office who will work for us, the constituents, the people they are supposed to be representing, not the corporations that actually line their pockets. So I like to differentiate between politicians and representatives. You are a representative. You are not a politician. Why? Simple. Definition is clear. Representatives represent first the constituents in their district, then their state, then the country as a whole. So yes, I understand. You have to care about your district first. That's cool. But at the same time, we also need you to care about the state and the country. Because if you don't, then how effective are you really going to be in your district? Because the alternative is, if you're a politician, you are there, you are paid for by the corporations. They are lining your pockets and you are there to line theirs. That is the difference.
Do you know that there is no job description for a representative? You literally could be voted in, take your oath, and never show up another day, and you still get paid. You think we should make some changes?
That's why I also think we need term limits and age limits as well. I'm not sorry when I say after 30 years, you should not still be on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, maybe some cognitive tests. I mean, in order to renew your driver's license, you at least have to go in and take an eye exam and answer some questions. But yet,
at least every other time.
800,000 people, and we don't even know if you're showing up.
Right. The story about the one chick who was elected, but she was basically in a hospital bed and her aides were doing everything.
Oh my gosh. How did that even happen? I have to go to the center of the house and go, are you not checking on your representatives? Because it's kind of part of your job that has no definition either. But yeah, I mean, you have several employees, several clerks that can be doing that for you. And we pay $1.8 million a year as taxpayers to have a single representative. That's what your community pays. My question is, are you getting your money's worth? Because I have a representative in 38 for the last 4 years, who's Wesley Hunt, who has the third worst voting record on the Hill. The last two are dead. That's how bad it is. And I
Oh
paid
wow.
$1.8 million a year. Never, he held what, one town hall, maybe two, sent out a couple of newsletters and called it a day. That is not representation. If you don't put your feet on the floor every morning going, oh my gosh, how many people do I have that are going to bed hungry? How many kiddos do I have that are not going to school because they're scared of ice? How many people do I have putting things back on the grocery shelf because they can't pay for all those groceries? How many people do we have, carpooling together just to get to work so that they can try to make rent? How many people do I have that are not going to go to school next year to further their education because they simply don't have the money? How many people, if you're not putting your feet on the floor every morning going, how many people do I have? Get out of office.
Yep. It's how many people do I have and how many of them can I help?
All of them need help. So we,
Well, they all need
we're
help,
all,
but it's one of those,
yeah.
some of them are easier to help than others. Some of them are low hanging fruit, but it's one of those, how many, okay, great. I helped those 100 people. How many more do I have that are in that situation that need that help? Because each and every day, great, you're making progress forward, but how many more do I have in that situation that need that help?
And that is team leadership. That takes being able to run a company. I have run a brokerage, a company for 30 years. It's making sure that you have the right people on your team, that right talent, and you have them on the right seat of on the bus, or the bus doesn't go anywhere. So you have to actually manage that talent. I've always told our volunteers that I will definitely exploit your talent. Just tell me what it is. And if you give me time, I'll tell you what it is. And we make sure we really, on our campaign, we have no paid staff. We are run fully by volunteers. And in 2024, we are the only congressional district that moved left. When our county moved to the right, our state moved to the right, we moved left. And we did it with talent and grit and grassroots and everybody just pitching in. If they had a minute, we used it. Because I can use a minute of your time just for social media posts, all the way up to a couple hours of your time. We had people literally retire from their jobs and join our campaign because they saw the change that they could be a part of. I've always said, if there's change you're looking for, be the change you're looking for.
Be the change you want to see.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I tell that everybody, I say that to everybody all the time is if you are tired of the world not changing and going in the right direction, then my friend, be the change you want to see. That's all you got to do is because if you start making the choices and you start doing the things, the people around you will follow suit. They will. It happens every time. I've run multiple businesses. I've run restaurants. I've managed, teams. I've done this. I have my own business now, and actually I'm helping. So the chiropractor I part-time with, we are actually trying to find another person to join our team towards the end of the year who ideally does acupuncture, Thai massage, or things like that. Well, I know a lot of people like that. So I'm actually the one who's told him, hey, let me reach out to my community and start talking to these people and see if there's anybody I feel would be a good fit for our team because I know your personality. I know my personality. I know Melissa's personality. I know Annie's. I've been there almost 3 years. Like, I know the people I work with. There's only a team of 4 of us. Like, I can find somebody who can meld with that. And then on my own end, I hire massage therapists to do chair massages for me. So I actually have an event coming up. And my goal is, and I've told them all, if you enjoy it, I have more events. I would love to get you in because I've enjoyed the conversations. Most of them are alumni of mine. They actually went to the same school I did. They just graduated before I did. So I'm like, great, I already know the schooling you got. It's the same as our schooling I got. Fantastic. I know the basics of what you're starting with. Cool. You also can do this, this, and this, and you did continuing education and stretching and this. Oh my good Lord, that means that, oh, if it works out well and we get to go out there, I will bring my table and I will have an area where we have 5 people doing chair massage and I'll have you at tables stretching people. We can make so much more money. Like, I have so many ideas now because of this and I'm excited. And he's like, okay. I'm like, yeah, don't mind me. I'm just excited. If this goes well, this is great.
So that's the synergy that we really breathe into our volunteers. We are participating in a program this summer called Democracy Summer. Democracy Summer is actually written by Congressman Jamie Raskin, who is a constitutional professor. When he decided he was going to run for Congress, he was trying to get his nieces and nephews and other family members involved on his campaign. And they were like, why would we want to work with our losing uncle's campaign? And he was like, what? Wait, what? So he wrote a program that they could get used to get credit and to learn about the democracy of the United States. This program has grown across the U.S. and many congressional candidates and incumbents participate in it. It is a program that you have to apply for as a candidate or as an incumbent with Raskin's office to make sure that, yes, they're going to allow you to do this. But this is our second summer that we will have fellows. And they come from all different colleges. I've got a couple from high schools. So when we're talking about, I do one, see one, do one, teach one. That's the method in which we train everybody. And our students, when they come in, they are breathing that excitement that you're just demonstrating. They breathe it into our volunteers every single day because they're there to learn. They're trying to figure out, okay, not how do I implement this now, but when I get to be a big person too, how do I utilize this? I feel that I have done a disservice to the generation that was ahead of me. I did not protect all the rights that you just put it on a silver platter and you handed it over to me. So now not only am I trying to get those rights back, but I'm trying to do the next generation and bolstering their enthusiasm to, okay, we're going back and we're getting these rights, but this is how you have to protect them. So once we get them, I need you to continue this on. This is how you continue even the generation after you. We did a forum not long ago in a college auditorium where we talked about guns on campus, where we talked about gun laws. And I asked, how many of you, raise your hand, how many of you have done active shooter training? The entire room raised their hand. That broke my heart.
That wasn't a thing when I was in school.
They should never have had to learn active shooter training if I had been doing my job of being the adult in the room. So now I put it to them. Kindergartners are learning that today. Yeah. You are the adults in the room. What are you doing to make sure they do not have to learn active shooter training? And so we're pushing that down on our next generation so that they don't do what I did, what my generation did, and just be, I don't know, we were grateful for it, but we didn't protect it. So now they will learn how to protect it.
Yep.
So
I'm 41. I'm almost 42. I remember Columbine. I remember the first ones. I remember Sandy Hook. I remember all of them. And the year before my son started middle school, they had a shooting at the middle school. So I was terrified to send him there. The fact that my kids had to even learn active shooter drills, it terrifies me because that is a legitimate concern in this country. How many other countries do their students in kindergarten or elementary school, are they taught active shooter drills?
Exactly. And I find it really interesting that, just a couple weeks ago, did we not watch this unfold during the White House Correspondents' Dinner? And I went, look at y'all being scared. How do you think school children feel? How do you think those elementary kids feel when a shooter enters? Look how y'all reacted. And you're adults? We can do better.
We can. And here's the thing is, I'm at the point where, okay, Gen X, millennials, guys, come on. Okay, we get it. We got to step up. First of all, we need to take the flag away from the old guard. And second of all, we got Gen Zers who are trying to step up and they're barely out of diapers and they don't even know how to wipe their nose yet. Are you really going to let them take control? Really? Like, seriously, guys, come on. This is our time to shine. 30s, 40s, 50s. We need to step up and we need to do the stuff that we knew as teenagers we were one day going to need to do, even though none of us wanted to do it. 14, never wanted to get into politics. Here I am doing political journalism.
Exactly. I mean, and all I wanted to do was help my clients be able to purchase a home. And that's when I went to the Hill because there was a bill that was going to help that. So I learned how to walk it through. That bill that I walked through was the foundation for the ACA. So these little things that you're just like, I'm doing it for this person, I'm doing it for this reason, where that seed grows can be amazing. So I always encourage, please get involved. Please, even if you have a minute a day, please get involved with a campaign that's either local to you or across the U.S. We do call banking every Tuesday and Thursday. We make 1,000 phone calls each day. Get on the phone. Talk to people who need to be heard. They need information. They need to know when to go vote, where to go vote, who to vote for, what do they need to bring with them. We have a large Black and brown community in 38 that are scared to go to the polls. So how do you overcome that? I literally sat with them and said, I'll bring the owls. And they're the who? The old white ladies. We'll take you to the poll. And they went, oh, really? Uh-huh. I'll take you to the poll. You can come with me. It's okay. But then we had people put together, poll greeters that wear a purple shirt and they just welcome people. There's people that have never voted before that are literally in their 60s and they've never cast their first vote because they didn't know what to expect or what to do or so many different reasons. But when they showed up and they went, oh, Melissa's shirts are here. The purple shirts are here. They were like, hi, purple shirts. And we're like, hey, we're so glad you're at the polls. We don't know who you are. We're just glad you're there and that you're participating in democracy. The number of comments that we got back from that, get involved. Get involved. Everybody should have something that they do throughout early election and election day voting. Even if it's just welcoming people to the polls, giving somebody a ride, watching the toddler for the mom who needs to go cast her vote, the older person who needs to be able to get their mail-in ballot. Those forms are ridiculous in Texas. We don't make it easy. I made a video on it because our college students didn't know how to get an envelope and how to fill it out to request a mail-in ballot. So we have some serious divide that we're not even recognizing is there that everyday people could do. You can make an envelope out for a college student and say, hey, put your application in here. And they'd be like, okay, cool. Well, they just need a little bit of help. So again, please find a campaign that you are passionate about, that you can support, that is making the change that you want to see, and just participate. Be part of democracy.
Or find a few like I'm doing. As far as I'm concerned, I'm contributing to everybody's campaign that's getting on. Why? Because I'm going to put this on YouTube. I'm going to get a copy of it to you. I'm going to make clips of it. And then I'm going to get you back on as many times as possible until the election. And then even afterwards, whether or not you win. Why? Well, if you win, congratulations. Hi, I'm Shadow. Can I hold you accountable so you can hold everybody else accountable?
Shadow, you should definitely hold us accountable. So we talk about that we need your time, talent, and treasure. And so everybody's like, okay, I said, I need 3 things. I need your time, even if it's a minute. And that's getting on social media. And our social media, you can find all of our social media at melissaforcongress.com. We have like 8 of them. I'm trying to reach you wherever you are. We need your talent, whatever it is, I'm going to exploit it. And I need your treasure. And if that's just buying me a cup of coffee, it helps support our volunteers and the materials that they need. The purple shirts they need to wear, the paper, the door hanger that they need to have, the making sure that we have social media and that we're able to boost those posts. Those all comes from donations. Being able to help our fellows, again, breathing that energy and keeping that energy going all the way, not just through November. It's got to keep going for the next 2 years because we've got a lot to do and it's going to take a lot of energy.
Yep. Well, and see, and that's why I'm asking people because I know for a fact with everybody I've talking to, because we've talked about, well, if you don't win your primary, you don't win the election. Are you done? That's my first question, and
No,
everybody's saying no.
no.
Beautiful. That means I want to have as many conversations with you between now and then even afterwards. Why? Because it's not about the change just today. Yes, but here's the
Right.
thing, it's about the long haul. It's the long game. Yes, there are certain things where going in there needs to be immediate change? Absolutely. Then are there things that are part of the long game where people are going to have to band together and work together over the next few years to make it happen? Yes. Part of what I'm trying to do is get as many people who have these same ideals, and goals connected as possible, even across state lines, because sometimes that's what you need. You never know when your staunchest ally is going to be somebody in another state, because
Oh,
you
no, they
never know when
are.
next
The
time
farm
maybe you
bill?
guys are going for federal, and in 2 years you guys hit the
Yeah.
federal level. You go in with an ally.
So, like, even on the federal level, when we're talking about the farm bills that I was promoting, championing through Congress. Funny fact: there's not a Texas representative on the Ag Committee. On the Agriculture Committee, there's no Texas rep. By design, maybe. But this is where knowing who to go to, who's in a different state, will make things happen because they have seniority on that committee. So yes, and there's ideas. Until you have 100 ideas on the wall, you haven't found the right one. So
Right.
some of those ideas have come from someone who's already done it and failed, like vouchers. Can we talk to a couple other states that's done school vouchers and
Oh, I
failed
can tell you
miserably?
so many. They fail across the board. Every state they failed.
Exactly.
They're not a good investment.
So I'm like, how did you transition back? Because now that we're there, speaking to those states on, okay, how did you transition back from making sure you got funding moved back into public schools? And how did you rebuild that talent? And how did you rebuild the infrastructure? Blah, blah. They've already done it. If the wheel had
Yep.
been invented, why are we making a wheel? We, again,
Yep.
cross communication, and it may not come just from us. It may come from around the globe. The world is a very small place. And
It
if
really
we
is.
really look at different places and just different countries, like healthcare, oh my gosh, please don't look at America for healthcare. We suck. I mean, but we gave $50 billion to Argentina, who has healthcare. And I'm like,
Right. To
that's
bail
what,
out their economy, but we can't
yes,
invest that same money in our own economy?
no,
Please make that make sense.
I can't. How does that math? I'm like, I don't know.
It's Trump math. That's all I can say is it's Trump math. It maths in Trump's
I
head,
call it
but
GOP
nowhere
math.
else.
Yes, you are correct. If it's going down
Yep.
at the negative, Trump's like, we're on our way. And I'm like, because oh no. But look at other places that do well in in those specific areas. If you are an expert in something in your field and you're in a different state, please become my expert. I
Right.
am I'm a
Well, and
I
that's where if you need a water scientist, I got one for you. She worked for the federal government for 24 years, and the only reason why she's not still working for them is because Trump. She took the buyout. She took it a year early because she was 1 year short of being vested. She rather
so
quit
we
than work
lost
for him.
that talent. See, that's the brain drain that we're going to be
Yep.
combating. So yes, please be my expert by just reaching out to us. My website has my email. It's Melissa at melissaforcongress.com. Reach out to me and tell me what your talent is because we need your expertise. I can't let it just go. We've got a lot of work to do, and there's only one of me, which means I need doppelgangers everywhere that can work on this on a federal level that
Yep.
reach not just across states, but reaches around the globe to really
Yep.
do the right thing and do it quickly. We're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to fast pace some of this. We're gonna have
Oh
to
yeah.
band-aid some of this.
But
So
that's
I
why I was
need you.
like, okay, well, I know another one. He's an environmental scientist. I know somebody who's a healthcare lawyer. I know somebody who's this and this. There's so much talent, and they have so much knowledge. Like I have one person until a year ago, she worked with data centers. I learned so much about data centers from that woman. Oh my good lord! And then another one, he deals with the environmental impact of data centers. Mind blown. I have learned so much from those two people about that one topic that I can actually go into conversations now and feel comfortable talking about it because I have hard, concrete evidence and data supporting what I'm talking about. I learned from the experts.
Exactly. And then making sure that when we have a bill that comes, one of my just, ugh, is unintended consequences. It just really, it keeps me up at night. That is my nightmare, is putting forth a bill that there's an unintended consequence. And because we didn't have enough conversation or conversations with the right people, that we miss that. So to get back around and do amendments, it's super challenging than if we just did it at the beginning. So
Hmm.
I welcome anybody. When I'm in Congress, the door is unlocked, the door is open. Please come in and chat with me about what's going on in your life, because you have a different focal point. You have a different view than what I will
Yep.
have, what the person next to me will have, to make sure that we minimize those unintended consequences, and that we make sure that there's always going to be, when you have a gain, you're going to have some sort of loss. But we need to mitigate that loss for
Yes.
everyone, not just for the few. So through conversations, we'll be able to give ideas on how to mitigate that, to make sure that we all move together. So please come out and
And
visit
that's
us.
the whole point. That is the whole point and goal. And that's what I keep hearing from everybody is the whole point is to make sure that we're doing what's right for everybody, not just the 1%. Because that's what's been going on for the last almost 100 years. Is it's just been about that 1%. And we as a country cannot do that anymore.
Or it's the top 1%. And we don't focus on the 1% that really needs us the most.
Right.
We need to do better. And we
We
can do
do.
this. We just need your help.
We are
We
only
can do
as
this.
successful as the poorest of our society.
Yep. I always say that we are as strong as our weakest link.
Yep. So let's talk about immigration because Texas and immigration go hand in hand.
Right? So I have made what, 5 trips now down to the border, and I have worked all the way from Brownsville all the way up to McAllen. But as an agent, as a real estate, I went with that perspective first to talk to residents. I did speak with Border Patrol, Customs, our National Guard, our sheriffs, our mayors, but I really went into the community and was like, "So immigration," and they're like, "And?" I'm like, "Well, what do you think?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" To us, this is our community. We flow back and forth. This is who we are. So the citizens of those areas that are along the border are like, "This is who we are. What do you mean?" So going to leveling up, going to mayors and talking about processing. The most time we've ever had in several years of processing has been 48 hours. So when people come, and I went to those lines and was asking, what are you trying to accomplish? What is the goal? And they were like, I just need to get a hold of so and so. I have a family member that's here, and I need to go through processing, get a hold of them, and they're already ready to receive me. Okay. They don't come and just stay. They come and move. They have a goal. It is to be better. It is to protect their children. Those seeking asylum, when I say they are feared for their life, I have never seen fear to that level in my entire lifetime. And I grew up in Florida, where we have hurricanes all the time, where we're part of that, where I've been part of fires. I have never seen that level of fear where they are literally running for their lives and bringing their family. They are here to prosper. They are here to be a part of the community. They're here to be an asset to our community. Um, when I talked to the sheriff, I learned so much about processing and how we pay for it. We don't do well with that. So if anyone has a drug on them, if that is in a container, like, I have a heart medication, it's in my little prescription, they are carrying drugs. Okay. That is transporting drugs. So DEA sheriff has to come out to them and verify that drug. And it takes time to verify the drug before they can move forward in that process. But that number, that person is given they were importing drugs. Okay, that skews our numbers. So you're not able to focus on, yes, illegal drugs being coming over the border. That's a different focal point. That's where we have DEA. That's where we have ICE working. We need to free up I'm transporting a nebulizer with me. Okay, these are necessities. Who pays for that? The community. The community pays for their sheriff. The federal government doesn't pay for that sheriff. Those communities pay for their own protection. That needs to be addressed. That needs to be a federal level address. When I spoke to farmers in that area, not one farmer, not one, said, you know what, I'll give up hundreds of acres of my land so you can put a border through it. Absolutely. Give the water supply to Mexico because my farm doesn't need it. No, they did not. Not one. They said, if we don't have immigrants here flowing back and forth like we have for multiple generations, we don't have a farm. So when we talked about putting up a wall, they're like, no, why would we give miles of land to Mexico? Because the border wall is not on the border. It's 5 miles in. Yeah. Most people don't realize that it's not on the border. Also, lately they've been talking about putting the border wall in our federal parks. That is funny because that's a cliff, just so you know. That is a cliff. If you look at Google Maps, it is a cliff. You're going to put a border wall literally on a cliff? People can't climb that cliff. Goats can't climb that cliff. That
makes sense.
How? And for a mile of border wall, you could build 50 miles of road. So when we're talking about federal funding of infrastructure, why are we not building 50 miles of road into a mile of a border wall? Those border walls are also going through subdivisions. Like they are literally right through the middle of it. So your backyard is a border wall, but the person that your kid plays with is on the other side. So you literally go down the street through the gate that's not gated, by the way. There's no gate. And you just go around the corner and go back over to your friend's house. I have pictures of this and the different types of wall. And I want to remind everybody that Mexico was going to pay for it.
I was about ready to say that. Wasn't Mexico supposed to pay for this?
Yeah, I love when we tell other countries what they're going to do. We're so great. But also now who's going to pay for the ballroom? Not taxpayers, but now taxpayers. If you don't want a $400 million ballroom being built by taxpayer money, you got to change Congress. Because I've already taken pictures of what has been destroyed without permission. That is my house. That is your house. That is not Donald Trump's house. Nope. And the property that is owned, that they want to put a wall on, that is our property. And it is not for sale, and we're not giving it to Mexico. It is ours. And it's ours to share and enjoy and to preserve for future generations. So immigration is a big thing here. Like you mentioned, Harris County is, I call it the land of immigration courts here in Dallas. What is happening there is not making the news. Mm-hmm. When you show up for your immigration court time, at first they were dismissing because if you had filled all your paperwork and you were done filing, and you were just waiting for your citizenship ceremony that's once a month, mm-hmm. your case was dismissed. If you do not have a case in court, ICE picks you up. So the minute your paperwork is done and you're waiting for your ceremony, ICE was standing outside the courtroom picking you up. They were
doing that in New York too.
How is this not being criminally prosecuted? I don't know. This is, again, Congress, you fund this, you hold it accountable. Why is this happening? So I literally got the recording from an attorney that sent me one of our constituents in 38 of a mother who she was dismissed because waiting on hers. Her kiddos are with her. They were born here in the U.S. When she left, they took her children. Why did they take her children? Because they had room at Dilley. That is our federal detention center. And many of you may have heard of Dilley in the news. But they had room, so they wanted to fill their quota. So they took U.S. citizen children from their mother and put them at Dilley. And they said if she wants to come get them, she may leave with them. In other words, I don't care that you've passed your citizenship. I don't care that you are ready to go. I want you and your kiddos out of the country. If this is the America that you voted for, okay. But I didn't vote for it, and the majority of Americans did not. We have to do something about that. I am very concerned of what is happening in Dilley and the reports that are coming out of our young women and our female children in Dilley.
That's what I was going to bring up.
I am very concerned to the point where I want a DNA kit on every.
I was going to ask, can we DNA test every last one of those children and then compare them to all the guards that have been in the facilities where they were stationed? I promise you, you're going to find the dads in all of those guards.
Would that be accountability? Would that be criminal prosecuting?
It would be criminal prosecuting because of the fact that multiple reasons. One, when they are in detention, they cannot consent. It is rape. 2, they are in detention. It is rape. 3, they are underage. It is rape. 4, they just cannot consent because of all the reasons surrounding it. It is rape. It is criminally prosecutable. Sorry. Okay,
Agreed.
go ahead.
So back to work that we need to get done. I'm not missing out on it. I'm making a list, and I have several people like you that can help me complete that list if I've missed something. So yes, that is congressional oversight. There is a committee for that. They have not met in months because the last time they met, they wanted what? The Epstein files. So the chairman of that committee is not meeting. What they're doing is they're calling it roundtabling. Okay, when you do a roundtable, that's different than a hearing. When you do a roundtable, you don't have to invite both parties. When you do a roundtable, you're not under oath. You can say whatever you want. It's off the record. When you do roundtables, you don't have to have press in there. So tell me how this is oversight and accountability if you're not taking oath, you're not on the record. I can't subpoena you. I can't take anything that you've said and put it to the Department of Justice for prosecution because it's a roundtable. Watch what they do and learn the specific language that they're using, that specific word. There's a difference between a hearing and a roundtable. There's a difference between markup and oversight. There's a difference between caucusing and actually hearing. Learning those different little lingos and what the implications are or the lack of, they matter. Words matter.
Yep.
Yes. We have, again, why right now representatives are having to make an appointment to enter a facility, an agency in which they govern. Yeah. If you ever showed up at your child's daycare and they said, oh, you didn't make an appointment to come in, not going to let you come in and see your kid. Every woman would be there at that door, banging on it, going, no, you're letting me in or we're taking it down. So how we're allowing that to help happen in our agencies, again, put a spine, get one, or resign. Let somebody else handle it.
Yep. Let's see. Rock wanted to know who the chairman of that board is.
It's a guy. I have to look it up. I'm so sorry. I can see his face. It used to be, you'll love this, it used to be Jim Jordan. So I found that really kind of interesting that Jim Jordan was acting chair when I was in there last year because they were hearing Title 9 under Jim Jordan. I went, you mean the guy who's responsible hasn't been criminally prosecuted for Title 9 issue? Oh, my bad. Yeah, this is the guy. So I have to find out who that is now.
He says, don't say comer.
Don't say comer.
I think he's saying, don't tell him that the chairman's comer.
Oh, okay. I was like, don't say comer. Who is the chair? Not appropriations. That's Mosk. judicial. So Jamie Raskin, Jasmine Crockett, Bobert was on there at one point. um, um, AOC's on that committee. Jim Jordan's on that committee. Is it still Comer?
No,
We're looking it up for you.
it's still Jim Jordan.
It's still Jim Jordan.
Still Jim Jordan.
It's still Jim Jordan.
Republican. Jerry Nader on the Democrat.
Oh yeah. So Nader is the co-chair. That's your Democrat chair. And Jim Jordan is still I was like, Jim Jordan was the chair last year. I guess he'd still be the chair. Yeah, because we haven't rotated to the 120th. 120th for the win, guys. Get rid of all the committee chairs. The 120th for the win. I'm like, wow. Let's put Jamie Raskin as the chair next time. He's on
Let's
that
vote him up.
committee. Let's vote him up. Just vote him up, man.
Let's vote him up.
Just vote him up.
I mean,
Yes.
we're at the point where let's vote him up. Let's do
I would
something.
like
Let's
to
make
go-
change.
I would like to be on appropriations. I know how to do a budget. Every mom that's run a grocery, that's gone to the grocery store knows how to really do a really good budget. We can stretch it and appropriate and hold people accountable. But right now, Steve Miller and Russell Vaught. Russell Vaught, I literally sat in his hearing in person and listened to him testify in front of that dais, telling representatives that the question has been asked and answered. But the Republican was looking for a stapler to throw at him. They were so mad. I was like, when you make everybody on the dais hate you, you're not good for our country. So yeah, that's appropriations right now.
Hey guys. So let's kind of dial back and just drill down to what at the end of the day made you decide initially to run for office.
I will tell you that everybody has their line. And once someone crosses that line, you're like, enough. That my line is not moving. Initially, it started when we took children at the border, when we separated children at the border and we kidnapped them. We have yet to put those children back to their families, all of them. They're still, during the Biden administration, there was still people, they were still funding to look for their families. But that was my first. That was the first thing that I was like, this is not my America. The second thing was when we all watched George Floyd die on TV. It wasn't the first time that it had happened, but it's the first time as a country we sat and watched it together. And I went, no, not my America. And then when they rolled back, especially here in Texas, the trigger law against abortion for women that apparently we can't, we don't know our own mind and we can't make decisions on our own body because, I don't know, the brain is not, afforded to women. I was done. That was okay, you've crossed it 3 times. I am finished. And literally that summer when George Floyd passed, it was COVID and we were watching church, Sunday morning church in my game room. And my pastor said the same thing that we've always heard, but for some reason that day it hit me. To do nothing is to totally agree with what's happening. But furthermore, for God to give you the talent to change it and not do it, that's defiance. And I went, oh. And I had been championing bills for over a decade and a half at that point. Do I have the ability to make change? Absolutely. And I've never asked for credit. I've never talked to people about what I did. Even my own pastor didn't know that I championed bills that helped him in healthcare. He didn't realize that I helped with the CFPB. He had no idea that I helped with affordable housing and to make sure insurance prices were staying down when they quadrupled a couple of years ago that I took to the hill. He had no idea. That wasn't what it was about. It was about helping my people, the people that I knew. And when all that lined up, I just went, enough. But literally my family turned around and looked at me and went, that was for you. What you gonna do? And I went, I literally left the game room where we were watching and started making phone calls. I didn't even finish service. I started making phone calls to my own mentors that had gone with me to the Hill, people that were in front of before me that did this, work, that showed me how to do it. And I called them and said, I don't know what to do, but I know I need to be doing something. And they went, it's about time. I went, excuse me? Literally, it's about time. And we got together and we talked about it. And I got with my family and I'm like, there is no better position for me to run for to help people and put power back in people's hands than to run for Congress. Something that I have done for 20 years on my own. You know, I know the environment. I know how these bills move. I know the frustration. I know how to negotiate. You talk about having a superpower. That is mine. It's figuring out what you want and how you get it is how I have made bread and butter for 30 years. So I can do it on the Hill. And that's when we just decided as a family that, yeah, okay, mom's going to run for Congress and we are all going to support it. And we started literally that day. We started putting things into motion. And this is a big deal for my children because, like I mentioned, they're both with the Department of Defense. And they both have to go to clearance and to the FBI and let them know that, hey, my mom's running for Congress. So I'm going to have extra communication, extra exams, extra things that they have to, extra appointments that they have to go through for me to be able to do this. But as a family, we made that decision that we're going to do what we need to do for our community. And this is where I can give back.
I love the fact that you have your family support. That is huge. There's no point in doing it if the people that you love the most are not supporting you. Because if they're not supporting you, then are you doing what you should be doing for yourself? You know, I know with what I'm doing with, you know, me traveling. So a lot of people, they sit there and say, well, my husband would never let me go off for 5 days camping without him, you know, with 600 people there because, you know, he'd be afraid that somebody would hit on me. This, I'm like, no, my husband, he's aware that somebody might hit on me and he's aware that I might go, oh, thank you so much. I'm married. Like, that's literally how I handle it. It's,
my husband's like,
oh, thank you so much. I'm married. You know, but I hear that. Yeah. Well, and I hear that but for me, like when I do these events, it's a chair massage event, right? But I get to cosplay and LARP. So I get to dress up as a half elf. I get to be Shadow, the half elf healer from the Fey realm. My booth, I'm actually, we're working on string lighting and flower. So I'm putting together bouquets. So it has more of a fairy fantasyland feel to it. Like I'm doing all this fun stuff, but my husband's literally sitting here and measuring the stuff and helping me, you know, he works, he works for AT&T as a premise tech. So he's really good with like, you know, splitting cables, putting connectors on, all that stuff. He did it for my table warmer when, you know, one of the dogs, my brother's dog, chewed the plug off. So he can do stuff like that for me. So with his help, I'm actually doing everything I want to do. And his support is, okay, hun, let me pack the car for you before you go. Cause I tell him how to Tetris it in. And then in the morning, he kisses me goodbye and tells me to have fun. And then he'll text me that night. Like he supports me doing everything I want to do with this. Again, he's supporting, if he's home, he's the one who takes care of the kids and makes sure that I have uninterrupted time to have these conversations with people because he understands how important it is for me to do this to try to help change. And so how he can help the best is by supporting me with all of it. And that's exactly what he does. So the fact that you also have a family that supports you with it, I love that. That's what we need. But then again, we've also gotten so driven away from community and to nuclear family that we've become divided from each other where, you know, my mom lives 5 minutes away, but she lives 5 minutes away. It's not like she's exit my house, go 3 feet, knock on a door, and she's right there because she's in a mother-in-law house or something like that. Like, we can't afford that. That was my goal one day, is to have enough land that I have my home, and then on the other side of like a grove of trees, so like a 30-second walk, knock, 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 there's my mom's house. Like, that's what I want. Yeah, I might not be able to do that in the next 20 years. And that's sad. That makes me very, very sad.
I have some ideas with that. So stay tuned because I and my team are really working on housing affordability, not just being able to purchase homes affordable, but being able to live in your home and alter them. And especially with healthcare costs, you know, making our elder generation leave their home and go into nursing care that is not covered by healthcare, and not having that option of being able to stay in their home and have family join. I have some great ideas. Just give me time, give me the opportunity.
Hey,
I've got some good
it's all
ones.
good. It's not like I'm trying to do anything overnight, but sometime in the next 5 to 8 years would be nice, before I'm, 70 and I'm 41 right now. So, definitely in the next 30.
Let me see what I can do in the next two, and I'll give you a status update of where we are with getting that over the threshold for them. But
Love
yes, I
it.
have some ideas.
But I do hear that from a lot of representatives where they are definitely focused on the housing, understanding that inflation has caused housing to go up. Like in Indiana, in our area alone, housing has gone up 42% since 2020. 42%. Our
And that
house
has
that
to
my
do
husband,
not only with land, especially where you are, the lack thereof, but it also has to do with the trade war that, we call it Chinese sheetrock for a reason. Our plastics that we put in faucets, where we get our light fixtures from. When you're charging 150% more for those items, we have an issue. We also have an issue with the types of building. So we're not diversifying the type of construction that we're making. We're not building houses that our wages match. So if we can't bring the price of the house down, we have to bring the wages up. That's the two
mm-hmm,
choices. There we are. And we need to do bridge planning where we're bridging people from, living with mom and dad, because that's what happens after college now. That never used to
yep,
happen, but now we have to move back in with mom and dad. So mom and dad is not selling that larger home off like they should, giving the push of the rotation of real estate. So now we're building larger homes because we're rotating those homes. They're more expensive. We also are not doing what I call bridge subdivisions, where we're moving people from an apartment to a townhome. Learn some home ownership. Learn how to pay what insurance is, what those other things are that you have to pay when you are a homeowner. Moving them into or a rental home, like a community of rental homes that teaches you how to take care of the yard, why you need to have sprinkler systems, and if you don't have a sprinkler system, you got to move the hoses around, things like that, and then bridging them into home ownership. So stair stepping that education, because we don't do education well. So being able to do public housing, our homeless situation in Harris County is it's so sad. It hurts my heart
mm-hmm,
because we do not have family housing for homelessness. You have to divide up the family. Why we are not focused on that? That has not been made a priority? I don't know. But that is the difference from what we have and what we can have, is we have to make it a priority.
mm-hmm,
So you have to use your voice to tell your representative, I hired you to do a job. This is the job I want you to focus on. These are my top 5 items. They are in this order. And then we look at everyone's top 5 and we put them in order. That's what you should be holding your representative accountable for, is
yep,
those top 5.
yep. And that's why I keep saying is there could be 100 issues of priority out there. Yeah, we all understand there's 100 different issues of priority, but we have to take that list and we have to actually put it into an order of priority and figure out what is the low hanging fruit that we can address and tackle first and get change started now, which will help us attack the next one and then the next one and the next one. Because that's what it is. It's step by step. It's butterfly effects. It's okay, what do we do today that's actually going to affect us a year down the road? In a positive way. What do we do tomorrow that's actually going to affect us 2 years down the road in a positive way? Rather than, well, we did it and we're just going to see what happens. And oh, well, that hurt everybody but us. Oh,
One
well,
of those
I don't care because
stars
it
on the
didn't hurt me.
wall and see what sticks. No, I have
Exactly.
never in my business ever invested in throwing stars on a wall to see what stuck. And I don't plan on using taxpayer money to do that either. We have some
Right?
crucial infrastructure things that we need to work with within the
Mm-hmm.
Constitution, like the 14th Amendment. All right, Supreme Court, what are you doing? Those are structure, and those are infrastructures within the Constitution that's a big deal. That's not a low hanging fruit, but it must be addressed. So I see Congress as us dividing up into our areas of talent and
Mhm.
trying to work at warp speed to band-aid as much as possible in our own areas of talent, and then in 2 years being able to push forward. My little globe, it says that for every month that Trump stays in office, I've got about a year of work. So the longer that they are there, that Steve Miller is there, that Russell Vaught is there, that the DOJ is not functioning, that we're dysfunctioning in our Department of Defense, I have another month, I have another year of work that's going to have to be utilized just to get us where we need to go.
Yep.
So I ask ahead of time to give me grace, to bear with me. Some things you will look at, you're like, why did you do A to Z and worry about B through Y later? Because we need it so bad, we need Z. I'll have to go back and fix that. But right now, the 14th Amendment, A to Z, like get it done. Pass the John Lewis Act tomorrow. Let's just put it one of the first 100 bills that we push through. Let's get that done. Because I can't work on women's rights. I can't work on health care for women if they don't have the ability to go into their doctor and have the power to talk to them and govern that. These are basic things. It's search and seizure. I mean, the fact that right now we're questioning whether somebody can come in and take your house. They can. We have weakened that. Do you know that women didn't have the ability to get a business loan like what you have, your business, until 1986?
Yeah.
That is now questionable.
Yep.
Why should that be questioned? So again, there's some things that when you talk about accountability, these are some of the first things that we're going to have to tackle super hard and make them happen, and then go back and kind of massage them up. So I'm hoping that, again, you will give me grace and give me a couple times in there to really get momentum going, because it's going to take all of us working together and getting that momentum going for the next several years. But
Well, and that's why I'm doing this, is so that way when you make those choices, okay, you want grace, explain to us why you made that choice.
exactly.
I will give you the grace, but I want an answer as to why you made that choice.
And that is the communication. That's why we're doing listening tours versus town halls. Town halls is where, I get to explain what's happened and bring you up to date and explain the positive in the bill and the ramifications that's going to affect you and some of the mitigation we're putting in place. That's your town hall. But listening tours is representative. Have a seat, shut up, and just listen to our concerns, and then communicate out to us how this is either overcome or what barriers are in the way that we need to help with, or at least explain my options and my power within that. That is the difference. And that's why we are starting with listening tours right now. So by the time November rolls around, we will have had more than a dozen listening tours around the district, so that when we do take office, January, we should be able to host our first town hall and go, okay, so this is what we heard from the listening tours for the last 9 months. This is what we're working on. Here's the accountability. Here's the budget. Here's how we're moving it. Give us input and we will move, we'll adjust. But first of all, you have to like people. And that's where I think representatives start, is that they don't like people. So why are you in office to represent people when you don't like them? So let's start there with, let's like people. And then let's have some empathy and believe what they say is the challenge. They're in it. One of the things I talk about, especially with healthcare, is the maternity mortality rate for Black women. And they get in this position because, our Black and brown women are not, I guess, trusted enough by doctors, or not, they're making things up, or they're, and I just go, we have to believe people. You have to believe what they're struggling with and listen and just take time to hear through the noise and let them get down to the real specific item and pick that out, kind of like a teenage mom. Your teenager comes home and you're like, ooh, And you're like, out of all
I have a
that,
teenage boy. Yes,
yeah.
yes. I'm
Well,
aware.
boys, you have to dig. You have to keep digging at it to really figure out what are you talking about? Because it's one answer. It's a one-word answer, and we're done. No, we're not done because everything's, fine or it was good. Okay, well, so what was good about it? So what did you like about that? So what happened that wasn't so great? I mean, you have to drill down. I have learned with my girl teenagers, oh my gosh, they will give me all this information and I'm trying to figure out, was there a problem in there somewhere? Or are you just telling me?
Like, or my daughter goes off on 5 different tangents, and I'm like, I was supposed to keep track of what you were saying. I am so sorry.
This is why we do listening tours, so that we can sit there and really try to figure out, okay, all of that, where's the nugget in that you want me to focus on? So sometimes really you just need to like people, have empathy, hear them out. They might have to repeat it a couple of times before you go, I got it. You've been talking about a curtain this whole time and you're just telling me to change the color of that curtain back there. Got it. Okay. But have some empathy and some grace and some time that you give to people. So we're working on that.
It's leading with compassion and empathy.
Yes.
For Christians, quite literally, doesn't your Christ talk about leading with empathy and compassion always?
Mm-hmm. Maybe like welcoming the stranger, feeding the hungry, sheltering the homeless. That kind of thing. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We've got, again,
I grew up.
work on that.
I grew up with my dad being on the Catholic side and having a great aunt who was a Catholic nun. And then my mom grew up on the Christian side. So mind you, there's 2 slightly different viewpoints of how to interpret the Bible based on which section. Like, I would say all Catholics are Christians, but not all Christians are Catholics.
Correct. When I say all Christians are not all Christians, some of them are just branded Christian.
Yes. And not all Christians are Christians. That is 100 million, 1,000,000,000% true.
So when people ask me that question, I always say, I walk with Jesus. And they go, oh, are you Christian? I walk with Jesus.
Yeah, people tell me all the time, I need to find Jesus. And I keep telling them, if you keep losing him, put a collar on him. I know exactly where he is. His hand is right here on my shoulder. Like, It's not my fault you keep losing him. I don't need to go find him. He's right here.
He's right here. That's so funny.
I might not adhere to the name of that faith and I may not practice based on the Bible, but my great aunt actually gave me the book of Jesus Christ, which is different than the first few books of the New Testament. And it delves in more of how Jesus actually walked his path and lived his life. That is what I based my life off of. That's how I practice, is because it made a lot more sense to me with how kind he was and how he actually addressed people and treated others and demonstrated what he wanted from people by being that person, by being the change he wanted to see.
Exactly. So we take the word others out of everything. And you can talk to my peeps that surround me as leadership. Whenever they say, hey, we need to do something to help others, I go, there are no others. No. It's just us.
Yep.
It's just
we need to help us.
It's all of us. There's no other.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, yeah. Well, okay, yeah. So
well,
it's a
or I'll get somebody who brings up, well, my race. You mean the human race? No, my race. Well, what race are you talking about? The black race. Well, the human race. My honey, you have to understand, we are all one race. We are just different pigmentations of color. I am freckled. That is what I am. See, literally, I am nothing but freckles. I get sun and I freckle. I don't tan. I burn, I freckle, or I'm white. Those are my colors.
Exactly.
So, but I'm human underneath it. As a massage therapist, literally, underneath the surface layer of skin, all of your muscles are the same exact places as mine. I can tell you where all the attachment points are and hit you in all the spots that hurt. With just going doop, doop, doop. Those hurt, don't they? You'd be like, God, how'd you know? I'm like, because I can do my job and I know how the body is. Because we are all the same underneath. Now, yes, some people are born with mirror sides. I need to know that. Other than that, we're all the same.
I always say
we are all one race.
I'm definitely a white girl and I just lack vitamin D. That's why I have to take a supplement. So you are so blessed that you don't have to take a supplement, vitamin D. That's why I'm a white girl. Not enough vitamin D.
No, actually, I do have to take a vitamin D supplement 4 times a year. I get it once every 3 months, and it's like a 200,000 milligram pill or like a 20,000 milligram. It's a huge amount, but I get it 3 times a year in order to keep the vitamin D in my body up because I don't spend a lot of time outside in the sun because of the fact that 10 minutes and I burn.
Well, I hope that our new healthcare can help support what you need, that
Yes.
you need for your individual body. So we'll work
And
again.
let's talk about healthcare real
together.
quick before we go.
Okay.
Let's talk healthcare for a minute. So I know in Texas, we are still fighting for reproductive rights. And I know in a lot of states, we are fighting for reproductive rights. I can say in Indiana, a little over, 2 months ago, a judge actually did a good thing in Indiana, and it surprised me. They put a permanent injunction on the total abortion ban in our state, stating that a group of religious fanatics should not be able to decide everybody else's bodily autonomy. He had 2 brain cells and they rubbed together. Can we get that across the board now?
I think we have a problem with we are taking medical terminology and making it religious ideology. And that's where the separation of church and state comes into play. I have no right to be in your medical room and tell you what anything is. I literally sat in a hearing, though, it was a year ago, actually this month, where the Small Business Administration Committee, so the Small Business Committee actually on federal level, was interviewing contemplating which cancer medications Medicare was going to pay for. And I went, I'm sorry, what? Do any of you even have a CPR card that's on this dais? And you're deciding which medications, cancer-specific medications, we're going to approve for American people to have that we're going to fund. And if your particular cancer didn't utilize that cancer drug or wasn't part of your series, you're on your own. And they literally said, well, sometimes the fittest will survive. That is on record in the National Archive because all these committee hearings are recorded and given to the Library of Congress for prosperity. So you can literally hear them say that again. And I went, this is where we are with medical. So even going beyond abortion, I'm going in. We get so siloed into one area, and it's an area that, yes, needs attention, but we're not looking at the other areas. Like when we talk about DEI and how it doesn't have anything to do with healthcare, I laugh because I'm like, okay, then we're going to stop that research on prostate cancer because that's DEI.
Right.
So we really need to, yes, we need to look at healthcare. We need to do a better job of taking care of our children, our elders, and our veterans. When we give veterans 10 years from the time they separate from their contract to report any health issue that we will cover, and that is it, that is wrong. When we have children that have zero health care, that is wrong. That's not how they learn. Children who are hungry and that are sick do not learn. No. Our elders not taking care of them is wrong. It's just simply wrong. And that's where I get into criminal offenses. Is it a crime to have a child starve? Is it a crime to leave a child sick? Is it abuse? You can be taken from your parents for that negligence. How come we're not using those same standards to hold the government accountable for them? The state of Texas does not take Medicaid benefits and Medicare funding. We pay as taxpayers every month into Medicare and Medicaid. We receive none of that money back to Texas. Why? Because Governor Abbott ran that he was not going to receive that money anymore, so he doesn't have to adhere to the accountability of receiving that money. Really, Texas? When I inform employees, I say, look at your check stub, pull it up online. Do you see that cell that says Medicare, how much money you're paying? Yeah. Medicaid, how much money you're paying in? Social Security, how much money you're paying in? And you don't get that money back?
7.45% of your check goes to those 2 programs that they're not seeing. They're not seeing. That's 7.45. That's almost 7.5% of their gross income is not coming back.
Yes. And that Social Security money that you're looking at, we're out of Social Security in 2030. We're going to have to start doing well, you can apply for it when you're 70 now or 75. We're rolling back SSB1, which is Social Security for children that are disabled and never were able to work. These are people that never held a job. They can't hold a job. Social Security for that, it's been defunded. The Trump first administration borrowed against Social Security and never paid that money back.
Yep.
And we've lost track of that. We've lost track of the number of times we have moved money from one section to another and did not pay that money back.
Yep.
That is stealing. It is fraud, and it's prosecutable. Somebody needs to make it a priority.
It's part of the reason why last year we added 2.5 trillion with a T to the national debt.
Well, if you haven't looked at the budget for 2027, I have. $1.5 trillion has been requested for the Department of War, just for them. So when I'm going through this budget and I'm looking at line items, I'm like, okay, this budget cannot happen. And the only way that budget can be massaged, let me step back just a second. Most people don't realize that when we pass a budget, that there's 12 appropriations that happen to that budget. That's why they're always like, why every month are we trying to pass a budget? Didn't we just pass one? We pass an overall budget, but then we have to do itemized appropriations. That runs out each month. There's a different appropriation. So there's a different line item that is running out that we then have to give money to, or agree to, or set limits to, or not fund. Congress does have the ability to say, DHS, like we just did, you're not getting money for ICE. This is how that happens. So it's not an all or nothing, but making sure that we set that first budget up is super important. And the person that establishes that is the Office of Business Management. That person is Russell Vaught, who is one of the authors of Project 2025 and now 2026. So if you've not pulled off the internet, America the next 250 years, that is Project 2026. Russell Vaught.
Don't forget about Project Esther. That explains the whole religious aspect of it all.
You are correct. Because this is a religious movement that has moved into politics. This has happened in multiple countries. We just watched this happen with Hamas and Palestine. We just watched this. Can we learn from it? Let's learn from this and do something. The do something is vote. It's about voting and putting the right people in place that can recognize and connect these dots very quickly. There's a lot of grift going on. So having, again, a representative that knows your priorities, that's also has their ear to the ground and can connect all these dots very quickly and get them back communicated back to you on if A, B, and C does not happen, X, Y, and Z is happening. So I'm telling you, here's A, B, and C. If A, B, and C, if the budget continues to pass for 2027, our great-grandchildren will be handed a huge debt that we will never be able to get ourselves out of. We can do X, Y, Z. Vote differently.
Yep. So one of the things we do talk about is, with the insolvency, and somebody's going, well, the only way we can do that is to cut Medicaid and this and that and social programs. I'm like, oh, no. Social programs are the last thing you cut. You know what you do? You tax the wealthy, you tax their interest on, investments, and you cut the military budget. That is how you balance the budget. If you were to do that, I'm not even joking. We were spitballing back and forth. If you were to actually tax the corporations, tax the wealthy, and tax income assets like interest, like they are not taxed. Those are three things that are not taxed. Within about 10 to 15 years, we would actually be able to clear the debt in addition to being able to fund our country. The social programs, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, everything would be funded if we actually started to tax the right people and stopped taxing the working class as much.
But that has to be the priority. And currently, the priority is to dumb down society so they're compliant, not complicit, so they're compliant.
Yep.
They want yes men. And it is
Yep.
to make sure that when you move everything from the outside in, geographically pulling people closer allows them to govern better. So I would say govern or dictate to better. Russia did this. We watched, I mean, I'm alive. People are alive that watched Russia do this. They took the food out, and then government gave you an extra 10 cents to buy bread. So people became dependent on the government, but you could only get that in certain areas. So it made people move in closer so that they could be, it's prisoning. It's imprisoning people.
It is.
But that is the priority. That is the goal. It is not the goal for social services. It is not the goal for you or me or our kiddos to actually flourish, educate, do better. That is not the goal. The goal is for a few to have and those not to have. That's this. And we got to change it. Got to change it. I really feel like this is our last opportunity to really get ahead and change that.
Yep.
In 2028, it's baked. That cake is baked. Right now, we have the opportunity to change the ingredients. And I can't stress that enough. To get involved, the only thing that wins a campaign, there's one thing, and that is voters to the polls. It's not money or anything. It's voters.
Vote411.org. Make sure you are still registered to vote. I went on about 2.5 weeks ago now. I was no longer registered to vote. I had been in my house for the last 14 years. I haven't changed a damn thing. But what they did is last year, they were pushing so hard for the voter registration rolls and to find out how people had voted in the past. And the people who voted heavily Democrat or independent were kicked off.
Removed. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So,
and so
I was not able to vote in the primaries yesterday, which pissed me off. My husband was able to. I re-registered to vote so I can vote at least in the general election on the November 3rd.
So you have to be not on the defense. We need to be on the offense. So as a campaign, we are using this primary runoff as a dress rehearsal. And I encourage everyone to use this as your dress rehearsal. So what happens if the voter rolls are purged right before the election? The SAVE Act currently, the focus that people are giving to the SAVE Act is that women will not be able to vote because of a change of name. The last part of that act gives the federal government the opportunity and authority to purge the voter rolls. And it doesn't give how or how close to the election they do this.
And they don't have to notify you.
Correct. So I always say, watch the Fed and what they're doing, not what they're passing into law, but what they're proposing, because they'll take a federal bill, the state will take it, slap their logo on it, and it's now their bill. It's about moving the football down the yardage, not actually getting to the goal and getting the points. It's about getting it proposed and kind of getting that temperature feel of, so how far can we go with this, and what's the resistance from the American voters? And if there's not enough resistance from it, they march ahead. This is how we lost our rights as women, is there wasn't enough resistance. My fault.
Unfortunately, there's not been enough rage until after the fact. Now that everything's coming to light, everybody is getting angry. There is so much rage, and it's matriarchal. So it's a lot of women who are angry because we're looking at our children, we're looking at our next generations, we're looking at our descendants, and we're going, oh hell no. No, we cannot leave this world for them, because at 2050 they're not going to have a world.
Right. And I'm like looking at, and I look at the men, and I go, look what you're giving up. Look what you just gave up. Search and seizure. You just gave that up. Due process, you just gave that up. It's not about, is it you? It is you. It's just
Yep.
when will it affect you. But all of this affects you. When I hear people say, I don't do politics, I go, it's okay. Politics does
So
you.
politics will do you. And it won't use lube, I promise.
And it won't be you'll love this when I work with our college students or our high school students. When they say my voice doesn't matter, my vote doesn't matter, I go, okay. I played flute professionally, so you can only imagine the music that I listen to. So give me your phones. I'm going to decide what apps you have, when you can access them, and the music you will listen to. Because since you don't have a voice and you don't have a vote, and I'm going to do it, we're gonna listen to my stuff and we're gonna play my games. And they're like,
Right.
no. And I'm like, then go vote. If you don't want me just making those decisions for you, why would you let the 65-year-old lady make that decision that's your next door neighbor? And they're like, oh, okay. And then now we've got some skin in the game. But you're right. Most people don't realize what has happened till it happens to them. Happening to their neighbor, well, that's that guy. That guy's having issues. I'm not. We all are having issues. And men, I need you to get on board. I need you to see
Yeah.
ahead of time. And I need you to cast your vote accordingly. So when you talk about your husband and how he didn't do his due diligence beforehand, I'm naming names.
Oh, I'm naming
Do
names
your
too.
research.
Because I love him to death, but it's like, honey, you've been literally listening to me do this for 2 months. Really? Really?
Exactly. I totally understand. Totally understand. Is there questions that I can help with that maybe people have been asking you
Well,
lately?
and
How do we get
that's what I was
resources?
going to ask is if you have anything else you want to bring up or if anybody has any questions.
So I will give you the resource because I'm big on see one, do one, teach one. So teaching is, where do you see these bills? Like everybody talks about a
Right.
bill. Where do I look at this? Okay, so if you go to congress.org, there is a lot of resources there. So you can bill track. We're literally bills that make sense to you that are really important in your life. You can put it into bill track at the congress.org and it will save that for you. And any bill that comes up that has farming in it, it'll send you an email and say, hey, there's a bill on this. Click here and you can read it. It'll even
Oh.
read it to you. Like you could be driving in the car and it will read
That's
the
pretty
bill
awesome.
to you. So you
That's
can
really
track
awesome.
your own bills and you can have a voice. So when you call your representative and you're like, hey, I noticed that, House Resolution HR 38 has been proposed. That's a guns reciprocity bill. I don't want Texas gun laws coming to Illinois.
Right.
No. You will be able to speak to your representative and say, I want that voted down if that ever comes to the floor. And actually, this website, go to congress.gov and bill trackers on there. So congress.gov. Also, the Library of Congress. I love going to the Library of Congress. We all have access to it. If anybody says, did you see that clip of this committee meeting where they were throwing shade? Okay, if you go to the Library of Congress and click on that committee, the entire hearing is on there. It's recorded, so you can listen to it or you can read it because there's some voices I just can't listen to. So you can read it, and that's okay. It'll read it to you even. But then you can see, like, when there's shade being thrown, you get the element of who's in the room, and they'll tell you media was in the room or no, it was closed door. They'll also tell you how the length of time. So the one I can bring to mind right away is between Jasmine Crockett and our friend from Georgia, MTG. So when they were going back and forth, that literally was an hour-long conversation. And we only heard the response, and the two responses were like, wow, that got spicy. No, it was an hour-long conversation of literally the committee chairing saying, you owe her an apology. You're going to be removed from the committee if you do not apologize. There was an hour schoolroom that took place in between there. You'll be able to get that from the Library of Congress. C-SPAN. I want to make C-SPAN the number one TV station that everybody watches. To be able to see how governing is done. One of the things that constituents mention is, well, there's a lot of debate. No, there's not. Have you watched C-SPAN? There's nobody in the room. They're up there recording it for record. But if you look at C-SPAN, there's nobody there. So who are you debating with? It's just recording your information, recording their information back and forth. They're not throwing stuff at each other. There's none of that. You'll see that at state level, but not at a federal level. Schoolhouse Rocks. If you haven't watched I'm a Bill from Schoolhouse Rocks in a while, please bring it out.
I'm a Bill on a hill.
Exactly. Watch Schoolhouse Rocks, because people will quote bill numbers to me and they'll go, oh, it's a House bill. It's a House Bill 1187. From which Congress? And they're like, well, and they're only one? Well, there's a state legislator that has a House and a Senate. There's a federal Congress that has a House and a Senate. And there's the 119th, the 118th Congress, the 117th. The number gets started over again. So Bill 1187 from the 115th is not Bill 1187 from the 119th. So we need to kind of start with the question of which bill are we talking about?
Right.
So those are some of the basic resources. Also, look at your candidates. Look at their website.
Yep.
Look at their social media posts. Look at some of the feedback. If there's a bunch of haters on there, that might be the candidate for you. Because if they're being hated on,
hate is gonna hate.
Hate is hate. So I'm like, you know what? That might be your candidate. Also, go meet them. I do meet and greets all the time. I love when people come out and they're just like, hey, I've been waiting to have a conversation with you. Let's have it. Call them. If their website doesn't have an email and a phone number on it, how in the world are you going to get a hold of them when they're a representative?
Right.
If you can't contact them as a candidate, that is not happening when you're paying them.
Mm-hmm.
So get to know them. Get to know them. Be on a first. We run as Melissa for Congress because I want us to be on a first name basis. That is the whole relationship I want to have with my community, not just constituent, my community. You're part of it. And I think we should be neighbors.
And I love that. Well, and that's just it. I love that. And that's something that I have found with every person I've run is they're doing it for the right reasons. You are all doing it for the right reasons. And I couldn't be any more proud to be associated with you because of that. You know, I couldn't be more proud to have you on and have conversations and have them repeating because you really want to do it for the right reasons. And me, myself, that's what I'm looking for is people who are trying to do it for the right reasons because they understand the gravity of the situation.
Yes. Thank you. And thank you for amplifying that voice. My job as a candidate is to amplify the voice of the voters. And I appreciate you using your voice as a journalism in what that word is. Oh my gosh, that thing, and amplifying all of our voices. So if we don't have programs and means like this, as journalism is being, well, what it is being, happening, we won't be able to get that information out. And we won't
can't trust mainstream media. Most social media is owned by certain people. So you have to rely on people like me and Political Jess and Kay and Mike and all the other people who are doing amateur journalism, trying to actually bring the truth to the people, trying to have conversations with candidates, trying to make sure that people have exposure because, name recognition. It makes it easier for people to vote for you when they know what your name is.
Yes, absolutely. And by the way, my name is Melissa McDonough, and I'm running for Congress for Texas Congressional District 38.
Love it. But no, like I said, I couldn't be happier between all the people I've interviewed. Like I've been giving names to some of the other interviewers so they can get you on. So don't be surprised if you have people reach out going, hey, I saw you on Shadows, blah, 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 or she gave me your name. Would you be interested? Why? Because that's part of what I'm trying to do. It's not just me. Yes, I want people to go to my YouTube page and look at the clips and actually go, do their research on the candidates that I've been interviewing. Watch the conversations, because that's what they are. Is a lot of times it's not just platform and policy. We talk about background and history and why we are doing this, what's driving us, because you know what? We need people who have that passion. We need people who have that drive. We don't need any more people who want to get rich off of it. You should not make money in politics. Maybe doing a tell-all book 5 years after you're out. Sure. Make money off of that. By all means, everybody, I'll buy it. Hands down, I'd buy it. But while you're in office, why did you just make $2.5 million in 2 years?
How? If you're doing the real job of a representative, you don't have time to make money for yourself. We literally make $174,000 a year as a representative. We are responsible for our expenses in Washington, D.C. I mean, I have to pay for my own apartment, plus keep a house here in my district. If you're making money and you're in Washington, I'm like, okay, either I'm not paying attention or I am doing the work of the people.
Right. It's me personally. Oh no. Finding out that on the federal level in Congress, you're going to spend about 6 hours a day cold calling people for money. And I'm sitting there going, then how are you supposed to fix our country?
Yep. That is exactly the question. Yeah. So when you go to visit, and I get that not everyone has the ways and means to go to DC and visit their representative. But if you ever get the opportunity to be anywhere in DC, you should definitely visit your representative's office. If that door is locked to you, that is telling you something right there. If that office is not staffed, that also is telling you something. If you call your representative and they don't answer the phone, they're not staffed. So you can see their appropriations and budget, by the way, on the website. If you go to FEC, Federal Election Commission, you will be able to see through the Ethics Commission how every office is on there on a PDF, has their expenses on a quarterly basis. So you will see how much is given to a hotel, how much is airfare, how much is staffing, and what staff by name. It gives you the name of the staff even and what they're being paid. So this person is doing director of communication, being paid $160,000 a year, and you've received one email. You might want to take issue with that.
Right.
It is all out there. Again, these are resources that most people don't realize are out there. But I think it's part of just being transparent to have a link from your website. Now, one of the things that makes me a little nutsy, and I haven't quite figured out how to get around it yet, but I'll figure it out, is that when you contact your representative, it'll ask you to put in your zip code because they're making sure that you're at the correct representative. But not all of us have a representative that responds or answers the phone. But I still need representation. So you should be able to go to another representative and still have case management taken care of. Still working on how we can work on that online, but you can definitely do it through this phone system. So if you call the House of Representatives main line, the 202 number in DC, you can ask for another representative. And if you don't get response from them, at this point, give me a call. I know staffers. I'll see what I can do, and we'll get it done.
So one of the things I'm excited for, and as I've told everybody, is I'm a licensed massage therapist. I'm also a mobile therapist. I am licensed in multiple states so that I can travel around. One of the places I plan on going is Washington, D.C. once everybody gets elected, because you know what? Oh, I know 15 people there. I'm going to work on all 15 people and make money while I'm there, and then also have my conversations with them.
We will
do that twice
all
a year.
do the massage by the time we get there. Right now, I'm like, can you come to Houston? Because my entire volunteer team could use a massage. We literally block walk. We call it carpool canvassing because of how we do it. But we knock about 150 homes a day. Yeah. My gang could definitely use some massage therapy. So on November 4th, the day after the election, I want to line everybody up and say, Thank you so much. Let me help you put your body back together because you
Right?
worked so hard to get us where we need to be. And my gang does. I mean, I can't talk about them enough and how wonderful they are. Each one of them has a different story or a reason that they volunteer. And it's so meaningful, but it's incredible how they come together to, I mean, yesterday they were rolling shirts, just our campaign shirts. You cannot buy a campaign shirt. You have to earn a campaign shirt. So
Do you want to send me a campaign shirt and I'll wear it when I'm streaming?
that's how you can earn one. You have to do social media with it. Happy to do it. And I have girl shirts too because I'm a woman, so we have women's shirts too. But yes, we want them. I wanted them presented as a gift because that's really what it is. Each person, I know, again, has their reason that they work on our campaign. But to me, it is a blessing that we are together and we're in this together and we're working on achieving one goal, putting the spine back in Congress to get those checks and balances. So I am, again, come to Houston. I will line all my volunteers up. They work so hard. We even put out a weekly newsletter so that you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter. It's the only thing I really send out to you directly. But every Monday it comes out and it tells you what we've done in the district, who we're working with, some of the stories of what we're hearing in the district, just people talking to us. We'll print them in there. And then all the different places that we're going to be, from farmers markets to graduations to the next football kickoff to just places where you can literally just wear your purple shirt, wear your campaign shirt, and people will gravitate. It amazes me the number of people that will say, hey, so I wore my shirt to the grocery store, and there were people going, I'm like, okay. But it brings out your friends, it brings out your community, and it builds a brand. And it really shows that you are someone who's putting your time, talent, and treasure into making the change for all of us, not just for the few of us. So get a shout out to all my volunteers. They see this on repost. I love you guys, and we are so blessed with every single one of you. So thank you.
I love that. I do. And yeah, no, I will be asking for a shirt. I'm trying to get a campaign shirt from everybody. So when I start having them on, I can wear the shirt while I'm interviewing them. Or I can wear it, when I'm just doing my chill and vibe streams, things like that. So that way I can help get you out that way too, more on social media. I'm trying to find every little thing I can do on my end that's not going to cost me $500 a pop to send you guys money because I really want to help your campaigns. I can't afford that. So I have to figure out what can I do
Time,
to
talent,
help.
time, talent. Yes, ma'am. And I'm literally making a note here going, okay, the next podcast, we need to get their address and send them a shirt ahead of time. I'm like, oh, that's happening.
We'll make it happen. We'll get you out there.
At
But
least
no,
a
that's
button.
what I want
At least a button we're gonna have. But
Yeah,
we just want a
something.
button and a shirt. We're gonna get something on you. Like making that mental note right now, but literally we just wrote that down and went, yeah, we're gonna do that from now on. Yes, good idea. See, conversations across state lines that actually helps
Yeah.
all of us.
There you go.
Yes.
Something you can do with anybody who interviews you. Make sure they have a shirt. That way they can start wearing it.
Uh-huh. Yes. Yeah. We're doing.
That's something simple. I love it.
We do too.
Okay, well, it's almost 5 o'clock, and I do have another one at 6, and I want to make another cup of tea. So I'm going to put a pin in it right now. That does not mean I don't have more to talk about. Like, you have no idea. I've been making notes in both blue and red on the importance of the note.
Well, we need to send you a purple pen because apparently you don't have that color going.
I don't have a purple pen. I need a purple one.
Let's see what we can do. I have a few of them.
But no. Again, thank you so much for taking the time. I've had such a good conversation. I could keep going for another hour easy, but like I said, I need a break before the next one. But no.
I totally understand, and I am very grateful. Please keep doing what you're doing.
Yes.
Please keep amplifying that voice. Please keep reaching more people to find out more questions and make sure that we get the answers to them. I think that people feel powerless when they don't feel a part or they don't feel heard. So,
and that's what I ask people is like, are there any questions? Please come in and ask yourself. If you can't, send me a text beforehand and be like, hey, I have some questions. Would you be willing to like ask them during your stream? That way I can watch it later. Yeah. I'll even tell you when I ask them. That way you know what part of the stream to go look at. I would gladly do that in a heartbeat for anybody who has questions. In fact, I have a few things that I usually ask, like, we'll do this one last one. This is Ethan Sweetland May gave me this question, and I love it. If you could snap your fingers and make one thing law in Texas today, what would it be?
One thing in law. I would want every school, public or not, to have a nurse practitioner present for all children.
I'm writing that
We
down.
spend so much time and money as parents, as caregivers, picking up our kiddos when they're not feeling well, not recognizing mental health in a timely manner, not able to get them the prescription or the vitamin, or just the well checks that they really need. And we can change, I think, our entire healthcare in one generation if we had someone that concentrated at a nurse practitioner level at every school that knew those kids and that could take care of that right away. Do their health checks, their well checks, getting them the medicine when they need it quicker, not having mom and dad take off work and lose income, and have it be free. It is taking care of
I
our
would
children.
almost postulate that in addition to having a nurse practitioner in each school, they need to have a child psychologist on staff for the
Most
kids
of the
who
nurse
need
practitioners-
mental health care, because that way then parents don't have to take time off of work to get them to a therapist outside of the normal school hours or in school hours. So you don't have that lost income, and instead the school has somebody on staff that is licensed to help treat these kids who have these mental health issues. So mom and dad don't have to go find somebody else unless that person's not working.
Most of our nurse practitioners are trained in mental health. So
See, that's awesome.
That's where I go. And again, that's an advanced degree that is no
Yep.
longer professional, that's no longer covered by federal funding of education. You can't get a federal loan to become a nurse practitioner anymore.
You can't get a federal loan to become a physical therapist.
Right? Yes.
Do you know you have to go to school for 10 to 12 years to become licensed as a physical therapist? It's why I went to school for massage therapy, because that was only 1 year.
I understand. And I have heard. I just got to get there to do something about it. And I will.
And that's just it.
Working on it.
We're hearing, and so now that we're hearing what the issues are, we can start formulating game plans. And once we can start formulating game plans, then we can start putting them into action. And it's going to happen a lot faster than people realize, as long as we get the right people into office.
Perfect. That's exactly it. I've got to go too. I thank you
Yep.
so much for this. Enjoy your tea. I'm going to run to another event. So if you're going to be at the next event, I'll see you guys there. See you on the campaign trail.
Take care. Thank you so much for your time. So everyone, that was Miss Melissa McDonough. Yeah, McDonough. She is running in Texas for the House of Representatives, so the Texas House of Representatives, Congressional District 38. So this video will be available on YouTube shortly, so that way if you weren't able to watch the entire thing, you can catch it there. Much love, my friends. Take care. I'll be back at 6 p.m., so in a little over an hour, with Adam Dunnigan, who's running in Virginia for their Congressional District 8. Yeah, it's still 8. They did the redistricting, so we will find out and confirm today if he's still in 8 or if it has been moved. Much love, my friends. Take care.